Hello, 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 everyone. This is Dr. David checking in. How's everybody doing tonight? You all good? How's our folks out in YouTube land? I got my little other screen set up over here so I can see you guys posting in the chat. Henrik says, fantastic. Tracy says, great. Maria from Sacramento is checking in. Eduardo from La Habra. Mike from Newmarket, Ontario. Welcome, 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 everyone. All right. So tonight is one of my favorite classes to teach. Pretty much any class on human influence is my favorite class to teach. I can honestly say that aside from learning the martial arts, which was one of my very first forms of communication training that I ever explored, the art and science of human influence, specifically conversational hypnosis, neurolinguistic programming, and related disciplines, have truly been the game changer in my life. Most of you, a lot of you know my story. A lot of you don't. Some of you, this is your first time checking in with us. So in the spirit of getting to know you, getting to know all about you, tell me a little bit about you. Tell me how long you've been in Planet David, which is our YouTube channel. How did you find us? What were you looking for when you found us or we found you, right? In other words, what were you searching for? What was the thing that was most on the top of your mind, the challenge or the problem you most wanted to solve when you found us, right? And type in the chat, if you came away with nothing else as a byproduct of tonight's training, one or two things that you could apply. What would that be? Type that in the chat for me, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and, so Henrik has said, looking to edit behavioral patterns. Okay, very cool. That's very generic, Henrik, and there's no problem with that. Is there a specific area of your life where that you want that to be true for you? Darius says, I get fired from every job in this country. Okay, so there might be some behavioral things that need to be cleared up there, some value issues or the way you're expressing or going about getting those values that need addressing. Jeanette says, found you on YouTube since 2019. God bless you all. Polly Sofer says, meta model. Oh, you want to dive into the deep end of the pool. How to connect deeply and quickly with people. Very, very good. So not necessarily for benevolent reasons. I was going through hard. Okay. Well, you know what? A lot of people found us because of pain, because somebody in their life either betrayed their trust or they themselves, because they didn't have a certain type of communication skill or a certain level of understanding or awareness, didn't perceive the subtle cues or be able to communicate effectively in some way to allow another person to feel good about staying with us. And tonight, that's really kind of the crux of everything, isn't it? Every human being on the planet is moving through the world looking for a place to feel accepted, loved, validated, approved of, significant in some way. And once you truly understand what I call the mental triggers of human behavior and human emotion, and you have the eyes to see the patterns of the people you're interacting with, the world will literally open its doors for you. The world goes to the person with the greatest degree of persuasion, the greatest amount of ability to influence, and the willingness to use that influence. And I have to really stress that tonight on our webinar tonight, Secrets of Human Influence, Conversational Hypnosis Tactics for Success, Wealth, and Happiness. There's some certain fundamental principles that you all must understand. You don't have to like them. Hell, you don't even have to believe in them or agree with them. But if you want to be able to create change in your life through the power of influence, first by influencing yourself, and then by influencing those closest to you, and then those further and further out in your social, professional, or relationship circles, you must understand and work with the principles I'm going to share with you tonight. I like to believe that there are two kinds of people in the world. That's a dramatic oversimplification, right? There are people who want to know about things, who equate learning about something with the ability to do something. And then there are people who actually want to be able to do things. People who actually want to go out into the world and exert and wield power. And that, my friends, is what influence is about. Influence is about power. First, about power over your own mind, body, and ability to express yourself. And then ultimately about expressing that power in a way that moves people to want to follow your lead or believe in your mission or join your club in whatever form that takes. Right. And a lot of you, like Nathan is telling us, found us because you didn't have the skills or the awareness to perceive what was happening in a particular interaction, and you lost that encounter, you lost that interaction because of that. Tonight, we're going to take a huge leap in leveling the playing field in your life. We're going to give you some of the most powerful, effective, simple, and easy things that you can do to 10x your ability to influence. Our webinars are very, very much all about actionable things you can do. Yes, I'm going to have an amazing package I've put together for you that I'm going to be offering you. If I take you through the process tonight and I show you how these things can change your life, would you feel good about leveling up and testing the package that I've prepared for you? Would that be a fair trade? If I could show you very powerful experiences that prove to you that you can wield influence powerfully, ethically, and get everything you want by helping other people get what they want without feeling like a doormat or feeling sleazy or like a used car salesman. Would that be something that's worth investing in for yourself? Not for me. I've used these skills for the last 37 years to make my life amazing, right? But I didn't start there. I was the classic bullied kid. I mean, I was picked on pretty much from the time I started grade school to 4 months, 3 months, give or take, before I graduated high school. Okay. Many of the things that I did and I learned and I studied were because of being terrified of going to school every morning, of the walk home, of the bus ride, of going to a school function for fear that somebody who didn't like me was going to use me in some way to either scapegoat me or gaslight me or whatever, or make a fool of me. Right. I'm speaking from the heart because we've all been betrayed. We've all been hurt. We've all been lied to. We've all been abused. We've all been abandoned. And for many of us, those are the things that are secretly driving our bus, that are secretly motivating us to want to learn these skills. But here's the problem with that. And I'm not casting judgments because I was in this boat and I still am sometimes. Those parts of us that are hurting may sometimes also be the parts of us that are holding us back from using these skills. Now, some of you may be going, what? You see, many of the things that people did to us, to hurt us, to betray us, to abandon us, to deceive us, were tools of influence. And I'm not saying this is true for everyone, but what I am saying is that for some of us, there's a little bit of a fear that if we start learning these skills and actually start using them, learning them's easy, it's safe. Using them, that's a little different. And so some of us sometimes feel that if we actually resort to these techniques and utilize these techniques to make our life better, that we are in some way, becoming the person that hurt us in the past through the use of some of these tools. For how many of you does that strike a chord? Just so I understand you better. Does that sound familiar? Okay. Exactly. So here's one of the most important things I learned on my journey to influence and power. We must heal what has happened to us as part of our journey to influence and power. We must heal things. So along the way tonight, I'm going to take you through some of the most ethical, wonderful, powerful, simple, irresistible techniques I know, so that you can move through the world creating connection and trust and sincerity and friendships that are better than anything you could have imagined if you apply the skills. I'm also going to recommend some things for you to do, or courses or classes or products for you to at least take a look at, for the simple purpose of healing the hurts that got you here in the first place. So if this is the scope of everything I could cover tonight, I've got time for this. So if it's fair to you, if it's okay with you, I will take you as far down this rabbit hole as humanly possible. I will teach you and give you the experience, as many experiences as I can in the short time that we have. And I will point you in the direction to level up and get access to everything we have to offer in the world of transformation, influence, communication, and manifestation, if that's what you want to do. Is that fair? Is that a fair trade? If you think that's a fair trade, type that in the chat. Okay, very cool. All right, so if you can answer, I'll give you my pedigree in just a moment. If you can answer yes to any of the following questions on top of what we've talked about, you're in the right place. If you have ever fantasized about being super attractive to and having people find you charming and fascinating and irresistible, type that's me in the chat. If you'd like to stop being afraid, start being more secure, banish fear and insecurity from your life, and move through the world comfortable in your own skin in any time, any place, under any circumstances, type that's for me in the chat. If you'd like to have the tools and the tactics and the methodologies to make more money in your job, book more clients for your business, get that raise or promotion you know that you deserve, type that's for me in the chat. If you're someone who would finally like to be able to protect yourself from the manipulators and easily handle difficult people, type that's for me in the chat. If you'd like to be able to program your own mind and body for massive financial abundance, luck, manifestation, love, better health, you name it, type that's for me in the chat. Because that's just a teeny piece. Those things, as cool and big as they are, it's just a small sample of what you'll be able to create in your life if you just follow my instructions and follow my directions. That being said, how many of you, is this your first time with me in the madness and mayhem that is Dr. David Snyder? Sarah Snyder, first time? Okay. Anybody else? Okay. So for those of you who are brand new to Planet David, my name is Dr. David Snyder. I am one of the world's leading authorities on tactical human influence. Everything from behavioral influence to neuro-linguistic programming to conversation hypnosis, therapeutic hypnosis. I am an actual doctor of Chinese medicine. I have a doctorate in Chinese acupuncture and Oriental medicine from Pacific College of University of Oriental Medicine. I got my master's degree from Los Angeles College of Health Sciences, and I recently graduated with a doctorate in Chinese energetic medicine, which is the pre-communist shamanic and folk traditions and energetic and spiritual healing traditions of ancient China. So I have 2 doctorates. I've been named the #1 and #2 NLP practitioner in the world for the last 9 years. My products, much of which you're going to be learning tonight, some of my courses like Killer Influence, Secrets of Covert Hypnotic Influence, and Defense Against the Dark Arts, have been named the #1 NLP training programs in the world since 2020. We dropped to #2 this year. For Defense Against the Dark Arts dropped to #2 this year. So we've been the #1 NLP and covert hypnosis trainers in the world. We have more successful students than probably anybody out there. And our students, I'm proud to boast, can do this stuff anytime, anywhere, under any situation or circumstance, for any reason. And it's not just because of the content of what we teach. It's actually more of how we teach you to do it. The magic isn't necessarily in the technologies we're teaching, because you can find a lot of the things we teach, not all of them, but a lot of them. You can find a lot of them in other books all over the place. What you won't find is the unique methodology that we use to teach them and to install them and to help you embody them. So tonight is all about conversation hypnosis tactics for success, health, wealth, and happiness. To move you forward, I've also got a 10th degree black belt, by the way, in the martial arts. I've got more energy healing credentials than McDonald's sells hamburgers. And when you look at energy healing and Chinese medicine and neurolinguistic programming and martial arts, and you say, okay, David, why are you trying to like overwhelm us with all this stuff? What's that have to do with what we're doing tonight? Because every single one of these disciplines has something in common. They're all forms of influence and communication, but even on a more meta level, they're all forms of pattern recognition. And this, my friends, is the secret of all human influence. Everything human beings do has a structure and a pattern to it, and they can't hide that structure. They can't hide that pattern. They can try. You got to be really, 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 really good to hide your pattern for any length of time. But if you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, you can identify those patterns. You can extract those from an interaction with somebody, starting with yourself, and you can use those patterns to influence people in very predictable ways in an ethical, honest way. So my job here tonight is not to give you information, right? Like when my students come to my 5-day training, which we're starting our high level trauma resolution training Saturday. When you come, we give you this big ass manual, right, with all the techniques and all the theories and principles. And the first thing I tell the people when they look at that manual is put it under your desk and don't look at it. Why? Because you got your whole life to read the manual. But when you're in the room with me, I got 5 days to make you unstoppable. I got 5 days to make you super competent, able to do this stuff anytime, anywhere, under any circumstance, for any reason. So tonight, my job isn't to just give you information. It's to give you transformation. It's to give you an experience of these technologies first person, not just from me speaking them to you, go through them so you can understand what these techniques feel like from the recipient's perspective, but also from the deployment perspective, right? How you can use these things to change your own life and influence yourself, right? So that being said, let's talk. We're going to divide our training up into 3 basic areas. First phase of our webinar is going to be foundations and principles. These are certain very simple, always true concepts that you must embody, you must embrace if you want to be an effective influencer. Okay? If you follow the instructions and you go through the experiences, you're going to come away transformed. You're going to have a change. You're going to experience something. And the best part about the technology you're going to be experiencing tonight with me is you don't have to believe any of it in order for it to work for you. You just have to have the willingness to do it. Does that make sense? If that makes sense and you're with me so far, type "I'm with you." That makes sense in the chat. Perfect. All right. So you're going to want to have paper to take notes with. I would recommend paper and pencil rather than a keyboard. But if you have to use a keyboard, use a keyboard. There will be certain points during our training tonight where I will be having you close your eyes and and imagine certain things and say certain things. Okay. If you're driving or operating equipment or machinery or involved in any activity that involves your full undivided attention, please don't do these exercises. Wait until the replay, or pull off, stop what you're doing, turn off all the equipment, make sure everything is safe and secure, and then go ahead and feel free to participate in the exercises. My experience has always been is that the more you participate, whether it's virtually like we're doing now or live and through our live trainings and events, the more transformed you'll become. When I was doing events here in San Diego, and I'd have 50, 60, 100 people in a room for free, right? I could always tell who was going to get the most transformation, and I could always tell who was going to get the least, because I would ask the people to stand up and do something, and they would stand up and do it. And there'd be 1 or 2 people all the way in the back going, right? And that's your choice. That's your choice. You can choose not to do these things. But I promise you, you'll get less transformation. You may get the information, but you won't get the transformation. And that's really what separates who I like to call the regulars in Planet David, people like Eduardo and Seth and Mia and all the other people who've been around Planet David since 2019, right? They're the people who don't want to just know about something. They don't want to just take notes and go home and then find the next seminar. They're someone who wants to take the experience and apply it in their life and create powerful transformations and changes. Those are the people I love to teach. And those are the people that I want to work with more and more and more. So if you are that person, you're going to love the offer we have for you at the end of the night. So here's your first and most important principle. Everything that I teach comes from this one simple, basic understanding of human beings who live in a body. And that is this. Everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. It's either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. Okay, I'm going to repeat that 3 times. Whenever something is important, I will say it 3 times, so you gets reinforced in your own mind, but also so you have a chance to write it down the way I've expressed it to you. Okay? Everything human beings do is in response to a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. In my private practice, and in case you were wondering, I've maintained a private practice doing healing and therapy since 2005 here in Solana Beach, California. And my specialty is treating physiological illness caused by repressed emotion, which means basically anything that has an emotional base, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, COPD, arthritis, cancer, diabetes, pretty much any chronic illness and chronic and intractable pain has an emotional component, right? That's what I dealt with for over 20 years. And what I'm telling you what I'm telling you now in the context of human influence is also true in the context of healing. Everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. It's either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. Now, in the context of healing, and especially when you're dealing with chronic illness or terminal illness, what you're dealing with is a desire, such an intense desire to not feel something, to move away from something, to hide from something, to block something off, that it actually toxifies and creates a counter message from the nervous system that creates the illness. All in my experience, and again, I'm not trying to spew medical advice or anything else. This is what my experience clinically has been, is that anytime somebody is manifesting a chronic or terminal illness, if you can get to the deep emotional roots of it and clear it, their symptoms abate. Their symptoms go away. Okay? I could say more, but I'm not going to. Because the feelings they're manifesting is a message from their deep, unconscious, autonomic systems. It's a message that says, hey, there's something down here that you need to fix, and I'm going to keep turning up the volume on that message until you pay attention to me in the right way. Now, in terms of human influence, you're going to discover if you're a geek, if you geek out on this stuff like I do, you're going to find out that human beings behaviorally, not just in terms of medical issues, but behaviorally, socially, interactively do the same things. There are things that they know are hot buttons for them that they want to keep anybody else from knowing. There are things that are important to them that they're secretly searching for. And anytime they get a clue or a hint that they could satisfy those deep emotional needs, that deep part of them just makes them chase after it, and they'll come up with their own reasons for doing it. So human beings have 2 types of feelings of towards pleasure and away from pain. Okay? They move towards pleasure and away from pain. Every body language cue that you will ever study has its roots in this basic idea. Human beings move towards the things that give them pleasure and move away from the things that give them pain. And they'll move away from it either literally, where they step back, they create distance, or they do it symbolically by putting blocks and obstacles in their way to keep that from happening. And if you understand how to recognize towards and away from signals, then you can modify what you say and how you behave to move them towards comfort and connection and validation and every good thing that they want. Even if you don't actually know what that is, there's ways to do that. Because a human being, like I told you at the very beginning of this webinar, human beings, by the vast majority of human beings, can't hide their patterns. And that's what the study of NLP was really all about. It was about a way of observing and asking questions that brought out people's patterns that could be harvested, analyzed, and reproduced or modified. Tonight, I'm going to share with you some of the bump keys to that system. I'm going to teach you some of the most powerful, effective ways that we can do this. But the first principle, the first operating principle, the principle that's going to be underlying every other technique that I share with you tonight is this simple idea. Human beings move towards the things that give them pleasure and away from things that make them want to run away or make them feel pain. Are we clear on that basic idea? Okay. Now, if everything human beings do is in response to a feeling, and that's true, right? Every decision a person makes, every behavior that they engage in happens because of a feeling in their body that triggers an emotional state. Let me say that 2 more times. Every decision a person makes and every behavior they make happens because of a feeling in their body that triggers a certain emotional state that they're acting from. Last time, the feeling creates the emotional state generates the decision or the behavior. Simple, easy, right? So the basic principle is, well, then all I have to do is change somebody's feelings, right? Doesn't that make sense? If every decision and behavior a person makes is based on their body feelings, all we got to do is change their body feelings, right? Yes or yes, as T. Harv Eker would say. Okay, finally, I'm very big on interaction. So the more you interact with me, the more fun we're going to have. And I want you to have fun with this because this stuff can get deep and sometimes a little heavy, depending on how you're approaching it. Which brings us to our next big thing. The fastest way to change another person's body feelings, to change their emotional state, is to change yours first. To change yours first. I'm going to share with you with that idea. If you stay till the end of tonight, I'm going to teach you through body feelings and how to manage them, how to have people hanging on your every word, salivating to do what you want them to do. I'm going to teach you powerful, effective, simple ways to control your emotions and remove resistance to your influence and to go from interesting information to maximum transformation in minimum time. The first thing we're going to talk about once we get past our foundations is the secret back door to the human nervous system that allows you to trigger any feeling you want in any human you want for any reason you want. Okay? This is that, if you think of it like a username and password to a person's nervous system. And by the way, this is the way we've evolved to want to be communicated with. So there's no trickiness here other than we finally figured out what human beings actually respond to and how to make it easy, right? This power can be used for good. It can be used for not good. I like to think I train the good Jedi. So if you're a good Jedi, type, Viva la Skywalker in the chat, right? I train good Jedi. That being said, there are people out there that may try to use this in ways that are not so ethical. The fact that you understand how to use this and what it looks like and what it sounds like will allow you to detect when it's being used. And then you can decide how you want to respond when you become aware of that influence. Darius says, I'm Yoda. Fine, you can be Yoda. Right? Clowny says, Viva la Skywalker. All right, very cool. I hope I don't get dinged for copyright infringement or trademark infringement for saying that shit, but we'll see. All right. So back to basics. A, First and foremost, everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. It's either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. If you want to change a person's state, you got to change their body feelings. The fastest way to change another person's body feelings is to change yours first. Okay? Which brings me to my first slide for tonight. I'm going to try and I got to get to my Zoom thing really quickly. Oh, nuts. All right. Well, I hope, hopefully my, I just realized my recorder wasn't running, so I'm going to have to rely on the YouTube replay for this. But anyway, so if I do this, can you guys see my screen okay? Yes or yes? Okay, good. So what you're seeing here is what we call the Universal Persuasion Protocol. This is the only thing you need to know to influence people. It's super small. Let me see if I can make it bigger. It's not that small. Hold on a second. I got to move the chat over. Is that better? Can you guys tell me if that's better or worse? Oh, it's your screen. Okay. All right. So getting back to that, right? What you're seeing here, and you'll see it's done two ways. It's done in an outline format where you have step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and then you have off to the other side, you have what looks like a target diagram. I could spend a day just explaining the significance of why we're using a target diagram. But here's the algorithm. It's off the screen now. Is that better? Okay. All right. So the first thing is you got to know your outcome. You got to know what it is you want to achieve in any situation or circumstance and how you know you're getting it. So that's why step 0 on the outline is knowing your outcome, right? Remember, you're here to learn influence. And because you're here to learn influence, you have to remember that our job is not just to share an experience. Our job is to produce a result. And so that's one of the big, the thinking shifts that we have to embody when we want to become an influencer. Our job is to create a result from the interaction between two human beings. And that result has to be something beyond just having an experience or sharing information. It has to result in some kind of action that the other person is taking that we can measure as moving towards our goal or away from our goal. So when you think about creating now NLP has very interesting and very in-depth ways of creating an outcome and making sure it's all well-formed and all that crap. You don't need to think about that. What you need to do is you need to know what you want, and you have to have a way to measure whether you're getting it or not. And if it's something that you can calibrate through one of your 5 senses, visually, auditorily, kinesthetically, that's better for you. Okay, so assuming you have an outcome, how many people have something that they want to use these skills for? You can see my whole desktop? That's weird. All right, is that better? I don't know. Dominic Davis said that's what she said. All right, so here's what I want you to do. Let's step through this. First thing I want you to do, type your outcome. Type what it is that you want to be able to do as a byproduct of tonight's training. Just type it in the chat. Effectively network. Excellent, Carlton. Learn resistance to remove physical ailments from NLP. Okay. Use these skills to make money. Perfect. Liliana says sales. Okay, good. So these are all very easy, very calibratable. Get others to listen. Very good. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So now, Money, 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 Dominic says. Sell from the webinar. Perfect. Learn influence. Perfect. Now, let's go. I'm going to pick on Sun for just a second. Learn to influence. Sun, influence means different things to different people. How do you know when you've learned to influence people effectively? Just type it in the chat. Just play with me for a minute. You get a reaction. Sarah says get a reaction, but I asked Sun to get results. Okay. When they see my point of view, perfect. So when they see your point of view, you know that you've learned to influence someone effectively. True or not true? Good. Now I'm going to continue to play with Sun here in the chat. I want you to pay attention to the questions I ask. Okay, because this is where we're going with this. All right, this is one of the most powerful, unstoppable methodologies you will ever learn. So, Sun, just so I understand you better, when they see your point of view, let's say you learn to influence people so that when you talk to people, they suddenly look at you, you know, that's right, I see your point of view. If you were to have that on a consistent basis, ultimately, what will that do for you? And what's important about that? What will getting people to see your point of view do for you, and what's important about that? Type it in the chat. Give me more confidence? Perfect. So when you learn to influence people to see your point of view, you're going to become more confident. And if you became more confident in your ability to get people to see your point of view, ultimately, what's important about that? What's that going to do for you? Purposeful. Okay, that's Liliana. Okay. And I appreciate everybody else chiming in with their answers, and that's fine. You can play along. I'm going to focus my attention on Sun, but okay. So, Sun, if it gave you more confidence, what's that going to do? Create rapport with them. Excellent. Now, you know, Sun, I'm curious about something. Confidence means different things to different people. So just so I understand you better, how do you know when you have more confidence? Sun says, good question. And that's why I asked. So how do you know? Now, don't worry. I'm going to give you a template for what I'm doing. I'm going to go on the assumption that there's a feeling that you get in your body. True, not true. There's a way you carry yourself. There's a way that you the sense this is a good feeling. Excellent. Son, as a byproduct of tonight's training, you are going to discover the fastest, most effective, easiest way to learn how to influence people in the way that they most want to be influenced, so that they naturally want to see your point of view. And as a byproduct of seeing your point of view, you're going to move through the world feeling more and more confident, more and more of those good feelings inside your body, because you're gaining that rapport with people in a very fast, powerful, undetectable way that causes people to just bond with you in all the ways that are important. So not only do they see your point of view, they'll tend to take it on as their very own point of view. And thinking about it like that, if I could show you a pathway to 10x those results and get you there faster, more effectively than any other system on the planet has the ability to do. And in such a way that you could do this anytime, anywhere, under any circumstance, for any reason. How soon might you want to get started? Nathan says now. But I was asking son. Okay, so how many of you, while son is answering, agree with Nathan? Now, how many of you, as I was going through this process with son, were using your own information, your own criteria for what you want to take away as a byproduct of tonight's training? As you were doing that, as you think about what I was saying to son and applying it to yourself, notice how the feelings in your body shift and change as you realize I'm giving you the fast track to getting every single one of these and 10 times more than what you even thought was possible for you. And as you think about it like that, how excited are you becoming to take the next step and move forward? Type it in the chat. Sarah says ecstatic. Antonia says very. Enthused, right? Excited. Now, what got you guys so fired up? What got you fired up? What got those feelings? Sarah says me. That's true enough to be true. But what actually got you the feelings, right? But how did I, as a complete stranger to you, while talking to one person, cause you to feel all those things and associated with what you're learning here tonight? I did that through the power of language, but I also did it through the power of pattern recognition and pattern influence or pattern communication. So I'm going to jump out of, what I did here on in our little diagram is I went right from knowing your outcome. Let me move this over so you guys can see it. I went right from knowing your outcome to controlling my state, to using my language, to manage what state? Yours. And then I linked it to your values. I linked it to your values because fundamentally, everything you're doing in this world, everything you're moving towards and away from in this world is dictated by your values, the things you want and need most in the world. And if all I do is know what I want to achieve, and I can elicit the things you want most in your life and connect them together and keep them connected, you will selfishly do whatever I want you to do to satisfy yourself, not me. When we were going through this list together, when I was working with Son and you were all piggybacking on the process, you guys weren't doing this for me. You weren't doing it for Son, were you? You were doing it for you. But you were doing what I wanted you to do for your reasons. True or not true? True or not true? Exactly. That's what we call in this world, and correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that what we call a win-win? Where everybody gets what they want, everybody comes away happy, and nobody has to sell anything or pressure anyone? That's what you're going to learn tonight. And that's just the very tip of a massive iceberg of influence and power that awaits you if you choose to take the journey. Okay? So here's my promise to you. I will give you a template tonight for exactly what I guided Son and you through. It's a little more simplified that will allow you to do this with anyone, anytime, anywhere, under any situation or circumstance. But I'm curious about something. I'm wondering, as you were going through the process, did you notice yourself becoming more and more emotional? Did you notice yourself becoming more and more focused on what was happening? Were you paying more and more attention to everything? That, my friends, is the true power of this form of communication. Okay. And if you and that's fine. There's some issues there that you probably are in the way of you going after your values. Right? If there's things in your way, Angela and Henrik, that are keeping you from going after the things you want most, point to where you feel those, take them out and spin them and put them back in, and notice how they change. Okay? That's a real fast and easy way to fix that. But my point is that everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. The most powerful, irresistible feelings that we as human beings have are the values we hold. All right? I'm going to go ahead and erase this. But I'll point this out really quick for you guys. This is called the Universal Persuasion Protocol. And if you understand how to control your state, get rapport, use your language, manage the state of the subject, jump into their process, and bond to their values, then you can get anybody you want to do just about anything you want for any reason you want. It's really that simple. All you have to do is effectively elicit it. So we'll revisit this diagram a little bit later in part 3 of the webinar. Tonight, I want to talk about how I got into that. If you go back and you watch the replay of tonight's webinar, when I'm working with Sun specifically, you will hear me repeat back everything he said in the chat. Now, I was doing it for 2 reasons. One is obvious. People watching this webinar are not going to see the chat necessarily, right? So I had to repeat his words for the benefit of everybody watching this webinar. But that actually wasn't my most important reason. The most powerful words any human being can hear at any given moment, and this is probably one of the reasons why some of you got a little skeptical. The most powerful words any human being can hear at any moment of the day are the words that just came out of their mouth. I'm going to say that 2 more times. Okay? The most powerful words any human being can hear at any given moment in any situation or circumstance are the ones that just came out of their mouth. Here's a principle you need to write down and understand. Human beings never resist themselves. Say it 2 more times. Human beings never resist themselves. Last time. Human beings never resist themselves. Every human being on the planet has a selfish nervous system. It's moving through the world, taking everything on the inside that's important to it and projecting outward, and like little check boxes all around us, it's looking for things that check boxes for us. That's called projection. That projection can be identified, it can be harvested, and it can be echoed back to somebody. When we echo somebody's patterns back to them, they fall into deep, deep, deep levels of rapport combined with attention and focus. Because most people don't have such a profound experience of getting that kind of communication. It's also very, very new to them. Experiencing that kind of communication creates a profound surge of dopamine in the human nervous system that causes people to focus, pay attention, and hang on every word that comes out of your mouth. Okay? How many people here, by show of that's me in the chat, hate small talk? How many people here, in addition to that, have seen somebody that they really, really wanted to talk to and couldn't think of a gosh darn thing to say, and came off either not approaching them at all or having a mush mouth, not knowing what to say? What if there was a simple, easy, effective way to go up to any human being, ask one or two questions, and have to do almost none of the talking after that? What if 80% of the conversation came out of the other person's mouth, and all you had to do at specific moments was say one or two things, and they would just keep talking and talking and talking and talking. And the longer they talked, the more attracted to you they got. Would that be helpful? Right? That would change a few games, wouldn't it? Okay. The way you get there, Heinrich says, bet there's a good way to initiate conversations. Why, yes, there is, Heinrich, right? It's called 3 magic questions. The way you get into 3 magic questions is through a process called the echo technique. The echo technique is very, very simple. Whatever words came out of the person's mouth that you want to interact with, just use them back in as close to the order and sequence as they came out as possible. How many people here have ever seen my my martial arts demonstration where I'm pretending when I talk about how I used to sign up clients for my martial arts school? Eduardo's seen it. Okay. I'm trying to be timely, but basically back when I had my martial arts school in Coral Springs, Florida, I was still very, very new to neurolinguistics and conversational hypnosis, but I had learned from a man named Kenrick Cleveland about the power of using someone's very own words and the values elicitation process, which you just saw me model with Sun. And so every time somebody would call, I would say, ring, ring, good afternoon, Coral Springs Martial Arts Academy. This is David. How can I help you? And they would say, oh, hi, David. My name is Bernice. I saw your sign, and I'm curious about maybe getting karate lessons for my 10-year-old son, Josh. Oh, hey, Bernice. So you saw our sign, and you're interested about maybe getting karate lessons for your 10-year-old son, Josh? Yeah, David, can you help me? Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure I can help you, but just so I understand you better, Bernice, I'm curious, what's important to you about karate lessons for your 10-year-old son, Josh? Well, David, that's such a great question. Josh is really smart, and he's a really good kid, but he's a little small for his age. And his teachers decided that he's doing so well in school that they're going to move him up a grade, and so he's going to be in class with a lot of older kids. And I was a little worried that he might feel a little intimidated, and that the bigger kids might pick on him. But I'd heard martial arts was a good way for people who were smaller to have more confidence and to be able to protect themselves against being picked on and bullied. Oh, I see, Bernice. So Josh is really smart. And in fact, he's so smart, his teachers decided to move him up a grade. And if I understand you correctly, he's a little small for his age, and you're worried about him being a little intimidated by being in all those bigger kids, and you're afraid they actually might pick on him and bully him. Yeah, David, can martial arts help with that? Bernice, the martial arts for hundreds of years has been a fantastic way for children of small size, or kids of small size, or even young adults of small size, to be able to walk through the world with more confidence and be able to resist intimidation and to really stand up and protect themselves from bullies. As Josh goes through his training, he's rapidly going to gain the skills, not just in how to physically defend himself, but how to express himself more confidently, more emotionally. So he'll move through the world giving off signs and signals that stave off that intimidation, that keep people from wanting to pick on him. He'll be more focused. He'll be more confident. And as a byproduct of that, anytime somebody tries to corner him or put back him in the corner, he'll be able to respond effectively because he knows he has the skills and the ability to protect himself, and he'll have the ability to protect himself in any situation or circumstance. And I'm curious, I'm wondering something, Bernice, if Josh would come away from this training with the confidence to be in that, and focus to be in that higher class, to be able to resist intimidation and to avoid being picked on by bullies. I'm curious, what's important to you about that for you personally? Oh my God, David, I would feel so much better about Josh. I would have such peace of mind because I know, he's going to be okay. He can take care of himself, and I would really just be a load off my mind. Well, Bernice, we're going to go ahead and take that load off of mine, because I promise you, as Josh applies the things he's being taught, he'll gain that confidence. He'll move through the world standing up for himself, being more focused, and more confident, and you will see the results in him, and you'll know deep inside your heart and mind and soul that he can handle himself. And that'll give you that ongoing sense of peace and comfort. And that weight will just fall off of you like a load off your mind. And you'll be so glad that you made this decision. So just so I understand you better, we have a session that starts today at 5:30. It's 2 private lessons in 1 group class. It comes with a free uniform. And that starts at 5:30 today. Or we have a session tomorrow at 6:15. Which is better for you to give this a shot for Josh? Well, let me see. I think tomorrow is probably going to be better because then he can make sure his homework is done. He's had his dinner and he won't have anything pressing. Great. Bernice, I'm going to go ahead and take your information and I'll see you and Josh tomorrow at 6:15 p.m. Anything else I can help you with? No, David, I think that's going to be awesome. I'm so excited. Thank you so much. You have a great day. Click. All right. So what did you notice about the interaction besides the fact that I was playing both roles? Actually, Henrik, I didn't use any embedded commands. Elicitation, statement, repetition. Very good. How much of what I said was Bernice's versus mine? How much? Pretty much all of it. I would say probably 80% of the words that I used as David were as close to verbatim as I got from Bernice as possible. That's the formula, guys. When you talk to somebody sincerely, you have to be sincere with this. Otherwise, you're going to be incongruent as all get out, and people are going to they're going to think you're mocking them. But if you do this the way I teach you to do it, it is in fact the most sincere, validating, gratifying, and fulfilling way for one human being to be communicated with by another human being. When you do this effectively and properly, people will hang on your every word. They will self-disclose more and more and more information about themselves so you can make a decision as to where these people fit in your life. In our Killer Influence training and our Secrets of Human Influence training, we take this whole idea of echo technique, we parlay it into conversational frameworks known as 3 magic questions, emotional bonding, or resistance removal. And from there, you can leverage any form of human interaction or communication in any direction that you want. So the question Tracy's asking, how can that same combo go if you approach her as a salesman trying to sell her without her asking you? You start with a basic, simple question. I'm curious, hey, how you doing? What brought you here today? Right? This is a 3 magic questions approach, right? And then you ask simple things about their location and occasion. The worst thing you can say is, so how can I help you in a sales context? What you want to talk is something non-threatening, right? Why are you here? Who are you with? You're by yourself today, or are you here with friends, right? And again, we have a whole training on 3 magic questions, but the idea behind using this in a selling context is we're not selling people anything. If you pay attention to the interaction, even though it's an engineered one for teaching purposes, if you pay attention to what I'm saying to Bernice, I'm not selling her anything. What I am doing is trying to figure out what it is she really wants to buy. It's a very big difference. Selling is approaching somebody to try and get them to buy something that they haven't asked for. And then dealing with all the no's and objections to selling to what you're offering. That's not what we're doing in this. And this is, by the way, this is true in any context, whether it's teaching, whether it's networking, whether it's therapy, whether it's healing. People move through the world trying to satisfy their values. They're driven to do it. A human being cannot talk about their deeply held emotional needs and desires without experiencing A, emotional desire, and B, emotional pleasure, physical pleasure, right? When you guys, when I was working with Sun and I was eliciting his needs and his values, and you were filling in yours, weren't you feeling pleasure? Weren't you feeling desire for that? True or not true? This is the power of values and emotional bonding. If you understand how to ask some basic, simple questions, pay attention to the responses, and give those responses back to the person in as close to the order and sequence that they gave them to you as possible, they can't not respond. They can't not respond. Okay. Now I talked to you guys and you saw me working with Sun, and you guys a lot of you went along vicariously and you had that emotional experience. What if you could give that level of feeling or stronger to anyone you met in any situation or circumstance? How would that change your life? If you could give that, exactly. That's the basic level of what I'm sharing with you. Right? If you follow the formulas, if you follow the system, this is the least you'll get. And believe me, it just gets stronger from here. Okay? So here's my promise to you. I promised you I would give you these experiences. I would take you through these processes. In a moment, not yet, but in just a moment, with your permission, I'd like to share with you how to get access to the entire system, not just one or two pieces, right? I'd like to share that with you, show you how to get a hold of it. And then I'd like to go ahead and teach you very, very specifically the mechanics of how to do what we've just experienced together. Is that okay? Is that helpful? Would that be, can we go with that? All right. So with your permission, and only with your permission, I'd like to present to you the Secrets of Human Influence Hypnotic Persuasion Mastery Home Study Course. I'm very, very proud of this program because for many years, I did not do certifications or online, or I wasn't a big fan of home study in general. I am, but I'm not, because when I train people, I want you in the room with me for as much time as possible. But I realized, because I'm a little stubborn sometimes, I realized that not everybody can get to a live event. Not everybody has the time to even do a virtual training like what we're doing now, right? So I sat back and I said, okay, what can I do to help people who, for logistical reasons, financial reasons, family reasons, work reasons, can't get to a live training? How can I design a program for them that is as comprehensive as possible and will give them the biggest bang for their buck, the biggest ability to influence people anytime, anywhere, under any situation or circumstance for any reason? And this is what the download that I got. So this particular program is really, let me just make this a little bit smaller so I can actually read this, about taking your life to the next level. It's about learning how to erase fear and hesitation and doubt and replace it with unshakable inner certainty. It's about how to command attention instantly without even opening your mouth. There's techniques we teach in the very first day of Killer Influence. You walk into a room and you own that room just by the way you stand. We call it the charisma switch, right? And there's 4 different variations of that we teach you. How to speak in stealth commands. These are little language patterns that shift beliefs and trigger behavioral change in people on the spot. How to create instant trust and connection, even with total strangers. How to use words that make people feel, agree, and take the actions you want them to take and feel good about it. without feeling forced or bullied or coerced or deceived or manipulated or lied to, right? How to neutralize difficult people and guide conversations effortlessly. Let me tell you something. If you have a lot of difficult people that you're dealing with in your life, you start echoing their words and they will melt. You will gain so much power and influence with these people. It's almost not fair, right? There's a little bit more tactics and technique to it, but that's the basic idea. When somebody is being aggressive or they're being antagonistic or reactant, as we like to call it, one of the secret things most people don't understand is they're looking for people to agree with them. They're looking for allies. And if you can strategically align yourself with their needs and wants and values and show them how to get exactly what they want by doing what you want without making them feel like you're forcing them, they will move heaven and earth to do what you want them to do. Okay? If you like to inspire action without resistance, with no pressure or pushback, this course will do that for you in spades. It will take, I can't even begin, honestly. I can't even begin to tell you the things I've seen happen as a byproduct of this training and these protocols. Okay. In sales, business, and professional power, you will wind up speaking less and influencing people more because you will say only the words they need to hear. That's the beautiful part. A lot of you are doing this in sales context. If you are using features and benefits presentations and then waiting to overcome their objections, you're talking too much. And you're saying the wrong things. Okay? There are certain words a person wants to hear. There are certain words that a person will respond to. And if you use those words effectively, you will, in fact, speak less and influence more. In clients, getting paydays, promotions faster, you name it, things will happen faster. I'm making a lot of claims. I'm challenging you to prove me wrong. Learn these skills well, apply them, go out in the world and try to fail. And notice what happens instead. You'll be closing more deals, acing interviews, leading negotiations with visible and invisible influence. You'll be activating mental triggers that top performers use to sell, lead, motivate, influence, persuade, and heal and guide people. All right. That's what this program is about, right? Whatever calling you have in life, there is no place where the ability to influence, ethically and honestly motivate, inspire, and lead people to do the things, to get the things they want, and do the things you want won't help you. So Moses is asked, how much is too much from repeating words back to the other person? There really isn't, if you're doing it effortlessly and or effectively and with integrity, there really isn't enough, there isn't too much. Okay. Now, I would go 80-20 with it. I would say about 80% of what comes out of your mouth should be the words that came out of their mouth. If you can do that effectively, you're going to own most conversations. So everything I'm about to share with you is available until tonight, September 11th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. So we're going to start with the actual Secrets of Human Influence home study course. This is the core training. It's a 17-video, 17-stage universal persuasion protocol training. It's that little diagram that I showed you that's going to systematically teach you how to think like a master influencer, right? How to go from experience to action. It's a $297 value. We're going to teach you how to control your own psycho-emotional state so no one else can push your buttons ever again. This is one of the things that you won't find in other books. This is our secret sauce. This is what allows us to 10x every single language technique, behavioral influence technique, emotional bonding process, resistance removal process, and allows us to own a room just by walking in it. You won't see these training, this level of stuff on a YouTube video because it's proprietary. It's one of the reasons it's part of our unique training method that allows people to embody these trainings really, really quickly. You're going to learn power rapport skills for connecting with anyone, anytime, anywhere. We divide our rapport training into 3 levels of rapport. You have classical rapport, which is what everybody in sales and NLP learns. Then you have kinesthetic rapport, which is heart coherence, which if you've studied the work of heartmath.org, heart-brain coherence is this level of neurological electromagnetic rapport where heartbeats synchronize, brain hemispheres entrain, and that's our operating level of kinesthetic rapport. The third level of rapport is called activity level or vibing. And it's specifically used for attraction applications, situations where a female wants to attract a partner, a male wants to attract a partner. There are certain elements that you have to add to classical rapport that nobody talks about that allowed attraction to be generated, specifically social status and management of the activity level or energy level of a person or group. We show you how to do all three of those things. We're going to teach you the most powerful, irresistible hypnotic language patterns and conversational frameworks on the planet. These are things that allow you to make anything you want, cause anything you want in the minds of your listener, to make anything you want mean anything you want in the minds of your listener, to hypnotically direct a person's focus of attention and install processes at their deep unconscious level that they're completely not aware of, but will generate behaviors and understandings and perceptions in the way you describe them effectively. How to create powerful, vivid, irresistible mental movies in a person's mind that have exactly the things that motivate and inspire them with zero resistance. Right? How to manage the emotional states of other people so that you can move them from the state they're in to the state you need them to be in, so they'll do the things you want them to do ethically, honestly, and enthusiastically. I can't stress this enough. When you apply this system, the people will do what you want passionately. They will want to do these things. You'll have trouble holding them back. In many cases, they will ask you to take the next step. Okay, that's one of the hallmarks of what we do, right? It's ethical, it's honest, and it allows you to look yourself in the mirror and go to sleep at night knowing you helped a lot of people, right? We're going to teach you how to hijack someone's internal behavior code. Remember, I said everything human beings do has a structure and a pattern to it. I'm going to teach you how to observe those patterns and utilize those patterns if you need to. More often than not, you don't need to use it because you're using all these other things. And then finally, what you experienced earlier in part one of today's webinar was how to emotionally bond anyone's deepest desires and get them to want to do what you want them to do for their own reasons. Okay. So we're also going to give you the Killer Influence Mind Control Manifesto. That's the manual that we hand out with our Killer Influence training. It's over 200 pages of additional material, drills, skills, principles, things like hypnotic principles like social hypnotic operators, scarcity, authority, attractivity, 4 pillars of irresistible hypnotic influence that you must understand if you want to be effective in every situation or circumstance. How to look at a person's meta program, which is another set of behavioral filters that people use to make decisions easily and effortlessly. And that allows you to predict their behavior. 90-second behavioral profiling training, proxemic influence, how to use spatial relationships to create powerful changes in a person's mental state rapidly. There's a whole lot more in this manual. There's a lot that goes into this course. This is your core training. If you did nothing but master the things I've just talked about in this slide, you will be miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and miles ahead of every other person in your industry or your field of engagement or application. This stuff has been used by the military. It's been used by law enforcement. It's been used by the intelligence communities over and over again. Okay. Total value on this is $2,497. But I've bundled a whole bunch of other bonuses to go along with this to make it even more powerful and effective for you so that you can use it anytime, anywhere, under any situation or circumstance. So if you stay until the end of the webinar, if you act now, you'll also get these special bonuses. A, you're going to get our weapons of mass instruction, the most powerful way to captivate, hypnotize, and compel an audience without them realizing it is to tell stories. Now, there are many different kinds of stories, and each of them have some certain things in common. There are stories for connecting with people. There are stories for inspiring, leading, motivating, and selling. There are stories that allow you to remove resistance to persuasion. And then there are stories that can be used as a delivery mechanism for other very powerful influence and persuasion techniques. This course teaches you all of them. It teaches you the most powerful story archetypes. It teaches you the neuroscience of how to tell stories in an irresistibly compelling way that causes people to just follow along and buy into the attitudes, belief changes, embedded within the story. Narrative persuasion is by far the most powerful, longest lasting form of persuasion that we have. If you've ever found yourself absorbed by a good book or a movie, you've been influenced by narrative persuasion, right? There are Fortune 100 companies that have a position in the company called corporate storyteller. And their job is to tell stories to lead, inspire, motivate, and remove resistance to people. Milton Erickson, one of the greatest hypnotists of all time, someone who is known as the founder of conversational hypnosis, did 90% of his influence through storytelling, right? So by all means, this is a value add, right? Now, this is something that I love storytelling, but I could never find a good course on it. So I had to create one. And so this has all the neuroscience. It has the step-by-step things you need to do. It has swipe files inside of it that allow you to create very powerful, irresistible stories for leading, persuading, healing, transforming, motivating, inspiring, removing resistance, and just simple stories that you can tell that connect with people in fun and humorous ways. Total combined value is a $1,997 value. We're going to give this to you for free. So if you combine that with the previous bonus, it's $4,494. But we're also going to include one of my favorite courses to teach, and this is called Renegade Reframing. Now, reframing is a way of changing beliefs or overcoming objections in seconds. This course will teach you 14 super powerful ways to change a person's limiting belief or overcome any objection in seconds. And that's before you start stacking them together. So think about this for a moment. What if you, for any objection or limiting belief that you had about doing something, or your client or your customer had about doing something, you had 14 different ways to change it in seconds? What would happen to the amount of yeses and affirmations and compliance you got in your life? How much further could you get in your life if you had 14 different ways to change every limiting belief you currently have? Do you think things would change for you? Right? That's what this course will teach you how to do. And it'll do it in a very fun, playful, conversational way. We even built a game into this course called the Reframe game, where you can play it with your friends. Instead of Monopoly night, you can have Reframe night, where you have all your political beliefs that you're changing your partner, or your religious beliefs, or your limiting beliefs about success, and you just play the game where you just change people's beliefs. We have people do this in training where they list all of their limiting beliefs on a legal pad, and then as we teach them the reframes, we have them apply the reframes to the limiting belief. By the time they finish the program, they can't think the same way anymore, because they've opened up their own mental map of how the world can be for them so powerfully that those limitations just dissolve and go away. And that, to me, is the biggest value in this program. It's not that you can go out and change other people's beliefs in seconds. It's that you can change yours, right? You can use it on yourself, for yourself, and then everything you do just gets more and more powerful. Some people in YouTube want the buy link. Mia, can you go ahead and post that for them? So we're going to give this to you absolutely free. It's a $1,997 value, but we're not done, right? Why? Because when I created this program, I wanted to make sure that if people were going to invest in themselves, that I gave them every possible way and tool that I could ethically give them to help them succeed. This is what's going to move the needle for you. Okay. The last piece, how many of you, just so I understand you better, how many of you use public speaking or presentation in any way to build your business? Anybody here do that? If you're someone who uses public speaking, this is the holy grail. This course is called Charisma and Conversion, and it's all about stage presence, irresistible hypnotic persuasion, and converting people and informing and teaching and instructing people from the stage. If you've ever seen people like T. Harv Eker, or Mark Victor Hansen, or Lisa Sasevich, or Tony Robbins, or Robert Allen, or who's another one? Dr. Joe Dispenza, right? You've seen these guys up on stage and they're talking and they're guiding you through all these amazing transformations. And then they say, go back to the room and sign up. And half the room runs to the back of the room to buy the package or the program that's being offered. This is how they do it. You see, there's different levels to hypnotic presentation. And what most people give in their trainer's training is how to create an offer, how to do testimonials, how to, find your niche. But there's an architecture to persuasion. There's a system behind the system that people are not sharing. That's what this is. This is what's going on. This is all the covert hypnotic things where why Tony Robbins stands where he stands, how he frames things and puts things in your head without you realizing it, how T. Harv Eker uses confusion inductions in his sales pitch to get you to rush to the new offer. All these different things. We're gonna pull back the curtain on these things so that you understand them. So, when you go to these influence trainings and these webinars and all these other hypnotic persuasion opportunities, you can recognize what's happening and decide from a more educated perspective whether to go for it or not, right? But the inverse is also true. There is no more powerful way to build your business, to inspire, lead, motivate, and transform people than the use of these skills in a seminar, training workshop, whatever. So this is going to level up your business in so many ways because it's going to give you the confidence, the charisma, and the ability to convert people from interesting observers to fanatical clients and coaching students and mentees and things of that nature. It is a very, very, very powerful program, and it will teach you several different forms of hypnotic influential presentations. One is for small groups, one is for large groups. It will teach you how to repurpose that information, how to create a powerful and compelling offer, how to present that offer, how to present yourself, how to be completely authentic and honest and open while wielding the most powerful hypnotic charisma that's available to the human being on the planet. It's really, I don't teach this course very often live. The last time I did, I had over almost 100 people, and we had you up on stage actually doing this stuff, like presenting your offer, presenting yourself, introducing your talk, and giving you feedback on it. So in this course, you'll see us doing that, and you'll understand the persuasion architecture. You'll understand why you structure things a certain way, how to open with authenticity, and how to be perceived as truly charismatic and authentic, and create your offers and repurpose that content for social media, your blogs, your YouTube channels, whatever. This is really one of the most powerful and effective program or aspects of my business training that I give to my mega students, as well as my influential healer mastery coaching clients. We're going to give this to you for free. Why? We want you to win. We want you to be successful. We want to show you how everything builds to where you can stand in front of a room of 100 people or 200 people and have them running to the back of the room with a 15 to 20% conversion rate, right? Just by following the formula, right? How you can sit in a room of 10 or 15 people and convert 9 to 10 of people out of 13 from small groups, right? There's different psychologies, there's different approaches depending on what niches and the audience sizes that you're working with, how to command attention, how to fractionate attention, how to move on stage, how to hold a microphone, right? How to connect with an audience deeply so that they really, really resonate with you and they identify with you. These are all things that we need to take and build into a system that you can apply anytime, anywhere, under any situation or circumstance for any reason. We're going to give it to you for free. It's a $1,997 value. You get it for free. Total value on this is $8,488 if you register before the end of the webinar. So this is what we've got for you so far. Firma just bought it, right? It's the 17 video, 7-stage universal persuasion protocol, valued at $2,497. You're going to get the weapons of mass instruction, neuroscientific storytelling secrets recorded live, $1,997 value. You're going to get renegade reframing, how to instantly overcome any objection or change any belief in seconds, really. It's $1,997 value. You're going to get charisma and conversion, hypnotic presentation skills for presenters and public speakers. Once again, I I created this course for me, and then I wound up finding out other people needed it too. So I'm really proud of this. It's a $1,997 value. We're going to give you that absolutely free. The total value on this is $8,488. If you were to go to the website and try and buy them all individually, which actually some of these I don't even think we offer to the general public anymore, unless we've changed that. But you can get it all for no. We're not going to make you pay $84.88. Would it be if I cut the price in half? If I made the investment half, would that be a good deal? Think about that for a moment, right? But we're not. If I cut the price in half again, dropped it back down less than $24.97 to $21.22, would that be a good deal? Well, we're not even going to do that. How about $7.97? How about you get everything that I just talked about, and maybe a bit more, for one low investment of just $7.97 if you act right now. And if you need help, or if you want to slow it down a little bit, we'll take that in 3 easy installments of just $333 each for 3 months, and you can have full access to the training starting tonight. Now, for those of you who are ready, you can go ahead to nlppower.com/go. The link is in your chat there. I just click that link and grab your course. We're not going to sell a whole bunch of these. I mean, people are going to want them. We're not going to offer a whole bunch. So by all means, click the link right now if you know this is something you want, if you're ready to level up your life and really make powerful, positive change to move through the world, getting everything you want by helping other people get what they want. If you really start projecting a more confident, charismatic, comfortable version of yourself, to have people looking to your point of view and hanging on your every word and asking you to buy your product or service instead of you having to beat down all their objections and everything else. Click this link right now because that's the slowest level. We're going to teach you how to become the most charismatic, powerful person you can possibly be. And some of these skills only get stronger over time, like the Jedi stuff, the state control training that you learn on day one. We haven't seen a top level to that. People who are using those skills are just becoming more and more powerful with it. So click that link right now. If you're on the fence though, right? Prove me wrong. You have absolutely nothing. There's no risk here for you simply because we're going to give you 60 days to test this material. If on day 59, you're not noticeably building stronger connections with other people, enhancing and becoming more comfortable and confident in those interactions in any situation or circumstance, if you're not on the fast track to achieving greater success that is meaningful to you, whether socially, financially, or professionally, or romantically, for that matter, right? I make a distinction between social and romantic. Then, if you're not experiencing increased levels of security, strength, and a sense of more control over your life, right? I mean, that's really what it's about, isn't it? Nobody comes onto this webinar to try and put more randomness in their life. They come in for more freedom, choice, and control over the results they produce. If after 59 days, you're not 100% satisfied with everything in your course, right? If you can't make it work, then I will provide a full refund for you, no questions asked. Well, I'll probably ask a few questions, like, are you having any sticking points? Did you do this? Did you do this? Right? Why is that? Because I'm not going to give up on you. I don't want you to give up on yourself, right? We all need someone in our corner to motivate and inspire us. But if you can't make it work, then we'll give you your money back. And I won't quibble. You can even keep the courses that you download as my gift for saying, hey, thanks for trying. So there's absolutely nothing for you to risk here. Okay. So go to this link, www.nlppower.com/go. It's www.nlppower.com/go. And go ahead and reserve your course because I got other goodies for you, right? If you're one of the next 21 people to click that link before September 11th, 2025, 11:59 p.m. And when I sign off the webinar, you're also going to get the following fast action bonuses. Why am I giving you fast action bonuses? Because I'm a firm believer in what I call operant conditioning. What does that mean? It means the behavior that gets reinforced gets repeated. The behavior that gets repeated gets stronger. I want you to be action takers. I want you to be successful. So I'm going to reward you for doing that, right? What am I going to do? I'm going to give you some amazingly cool ways to level up your skills in the shortest amount of time possible. Starting with the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program and Practice Group. This is a 3-month, 90-day trial membership where you come in on the third Saturday of every month from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. We create a special lesson plan of what you want to learn for the next 4 hours, you and a small group of people, 6 hours. We drill you on these skills until you can do them in your sleep. You're also going to get access to our 14-year 14 years video archive. This slide's actually wrong. It's 14 years. We've videotaped every single training we've done since we started the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program in October of 2010. That's right. Next month will be our 15th year running this program successfully. And we have videotaped, without exception, every single training. And we've archived them on our special members only website, on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook pages. And you, as a member in good standing of the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring hands-on program, will get access to the full 15-year archive. Everything from energy work to advanced influence and persuasion, hypnotherapy, neuro-linguistic programming, body language training, attraction, manifestation, law of attraction, accelerated learning, charisma, pickup and dating and attraction, romance techniques. If it's within my wheelhouse, face reading, right? You can binge watch content that's never seen the light of day on YouTube or been featured in a product or program of any kind. As a member of good standing, you can watch all day long for as long as you want for the full 90 days. If after 90 days, you've gotten what you needed, you can exit out of the program. No harm, no foul. We'll wish you luck. If after 90 days, you really love the people, which I do, and you're getting tremendous value, we'll show you how to extend your membership. We'll show you how to extend that. It's a $1,597 value. We're going to give this to you for free, just for being one of the first 21 people to click that link, nlppower.com/go right now. And we're going to add that to the combined value of what we're offering you here is $10,085. But we're not done. I've got 2 more amazingly cool fast action bonuses because I really, really want you to have this. I really, really want to help you. I want you to succeed. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is, for those of you who are impatient, we're going to give you access to the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course. Now, Stealth actually does stand for something: strategic suggestion through emotionally amplified, linguistically transmitted hypnosis, right? I'm having a shield moment for a minute, but it's a $997 value. This course is a course I created several years ago, specifically for people who don't want to wait, for people who don't want to go through 30 hours of training to be able to go out into the world and hypnotize somebody right away. This course, if you just watch 1 or 2 videos, you'll be able to hypnotize people in seconds after the first hour to 2 hours. So if you're someone who wants to get out into the world and start pressure testing this stuff right off the bat, this is the course that's going to get you up and running in the shortest amount of time possible, right? It comes with 7 videos on conversational hypnosis training, 1 video on instant and rapid inductions, 1 video on emotional triggers, one video on anchoring, and I believe there's also a video on lie detection that's included as a special bonus with this course. It comes with MP3s, transcripts, downloadable workbooks. It's a very comprehensive course, and you can move through that as quickly as you want to move through it and go as deeply into it as you want to go. It's a $997 value. We're going to give this to you absolutely free as our way of saying, hey, thank you for jumping in and really investing in yourself and getting you out into the world as quickly as possible. I have found that when it comes to this material, the faster a person can get started, the more sustainable their results tend to be. The problem we have a lot of times is we start to overthink what we're doing instead of just taking the action and getting and moving through that inertia. And that's what some of you may be experiencing right now. When you feel that inertia, it's a signal to move, to start moving. Okay? Because if you think too long, you think wrong. Okay? That's what my teacher taught me. If you think long, you think wrong. $11,082 value. You can get this for free. Just click your link right now. Right. And if you have a problem with perfection, Alex, we can show you how to fix that because I am the king of imperfect action. Right. So for those of you who are ready to go, this is probably the best gift I can give you. For any of you who are the next 21 to register before I log off the end of this webinar, we're going to give you a free super event virtual event bonus ticket. This is your choice of any single 3-day virtual event. Here's a list of what we've got coming up. Starting in October 4th through the 6th. Actually, I think it's the 3rd through the 5th. We got to change that date. Is Neurohypnotic Influence Crash Course. This is a course that will systematically allow you to, let me just read you the description really quick here. So day 1 of that particular program, we're going to teach you the foundations of unconscious influence, the science of persuasion, how to influence people in a way that really works at the subconscious level, how to enter and control your own psycho-emotional states at will and use that to influence other people. The foundations of hypnotic language and words and structures that bypass resistance and create very powerful hypnotic experiences in people, how to use instant rapport strategies to create trust in seconds, how to read nonverbal signs and signals and align with that unconscious communication so people want to do the things you want them to do on a body level. Live exercises for building rapport and capturing an attention quickly. We're going to teach you emotional state control, techniques for planting empowering beliefs in yourself and other people, subconscious compliant triggers that allow you to get yeses very easily, effortlessly, and ethically, how to use your voice, tone, rhythm of your voice to really guide people into very powerful, charismatic states, advanced hypnotic language patterns for lasting influence, ethical influence frameworks for persuasion integrity that are not manipulative, but completely honest, ethical, and open that allow you to influence people anytime, anywhere, under any circumstances, and how to integrate all of this into your everyday life. Right. Okay. So that's what the Neurohypnotic Influence Crash Course is. It's a variation of our Stealth CPI training with a lot of updates, insights, and integrations, and maybe a few more earthy applications we might talk about. Right? It's a really cool program. It's completely virtual. And let me just double check my dates on that really quickly. I believe it's October 3rd through the 5th, because I think the 3rd is a Friday. So that's a typo there. So coming up after that is our virtual healing intensive. At the beginning of today's training, I told you that a lot of us get into persuasion and influence training because we were hurt, because we found ourselves in a situation or circumstance where our boundaries were violated, or we didn't know how to protect or defend our boundaries, or we didn't know how to communicate effectively, and people lied to us, people abandoned us, people left us, people betrayed us, right? For whatever reason. People created traumas in us that held us back. And because we felt that sense of powerlessness, we started looking for ways to gain our power back. The virtual healing intensive is probably the most direct and powerful way for you to heal those woundings, physical and emotional, and use it as a springboard to become the best version of yourself humanly possible. When I see clients one-on-one, it's upwards of $750 to $1,500 a session. And so that for some people, that's outside of their range to work with me one-on-one. The virtual healing intensive is basically you and I in a small group of people in a virtual training healing session for 3 solid days, where all I do is guide you through one healing process after another, after another, after another. We target the most compelling and painful things that you want to deal with, and we help you to heal from them and to survive, and not only survive, but to thrive. When people have been through these processes, they come in one way, they come out completely different. We've had neuropathy cases and all kinds of physical problems just dissolve and disappear in as little as 15 minutes from these trainings. Neuropathy, but they've had it for 9 years. It's other types of chronic illnesses that just evaporate. Why? Because they were based in emotions and feelings and memories that your neurology was just holding on to, right? We're going to show you how to release those, show you how to heal from them, And you don't even have to travel. You can do it all from the comfort of your own home. You can do it in your underwear if you want. It's going to be October 24th through the 26th. It's a virtual training. It's completely HIPAA compliant. None of the content that's revealed by the participants will ever be seen in a YouTube video or featured in a product. So it's completely 100% you, a small group of your cohorts who are on the webinar tonight, and me, journeying through 1 day, 2 days, 3 days of healing. Right? It's been one of our most powerful new offerings. And for those of you who are ready to put the past behind you and step into the best version of yourself, I invite you to participate in this virtual healing intensive. And at the risk of undermining my own approach, even if you don't buy the Secrets of Human Influence home study package, right? Join the virtual healing for you. Invest the tuition to get the virtual healing and really experience that transformation for yourself. This has been a game changer for a lot of people in a lot of ways. Okay. So the easiest way to get it is to just grab your package before we log off the webinar tonight, but it's worth it on its own, right? We've had people take these 2-3 times because they've gotten so much value out of it. For those of you who are interested in learning to understand people and how to read body language, behavior, and faces, we have our face reading mastery crash course coming up. And this is a success and relationships mastery program. So this is face reading for the specific business applications, relationships, and healing, right? This is not a face reading certification track. This is an application track, right? We have face reading for fun and profit, which is our become a certified face reader program. This is more application specific. If you're hiring, managing, leading, matchmaking, right? Whether you're a love or relationship coach or a business coach or a life coach, or whether you're a healer, like an energy healer or a hypnotherapist or a neurolinguistic programmer or a coach, being able to read the markings and the architecture of someone's face can give you profound insights into their trauma history, their lifestyle, their temperament, the kind of instructions and directions they're most likely to respond to, the situations and environments where they're going to be very successful and thrive, and the situations and circumstances where they are out of their depth, where they are not a good fit. If you're someone who's the success of your life or your business relies on putting the right people in the right place at the right time for the right reasons, this is the course you want to be a part of. It's November 7th through the 9th. And once again, it's a completely online virtual training. We'll go step by step by step through all the business applications, hiring, firing, promoting, relationship building, healing applications, and how you can use face reading to really make those decisions easier and faster for you. Every now and then we get somebody who says, you know what? I know I'm meant to do something important with this life. If I just knew what it was, my life would be awesome. Well, in the face reading system I learned from my teacher, Lillian Bridges, which is from a Taoist tradition, the Taoists had a concept called Ming, also known as the Golden Path. And the idea behind the Golden Path was that every human being who takes on a body, who incarnates, has a spiritual mission to fulfill, a set of things, a set of qualities, characteristics, traits, and attributes that they've come in to express, a certain set of life lessons that they need to learn, and an optimal life direction that leads to the successful completion of those lessons and bringing the very best amount of light, health, and happiness to the world at large. The Taoists call this your golden path or your spiritual mission. Many of us on this call tonight have felt like there is something important that we're supposed to do in this life. We have no idea where to start looking. The Golden Path training and workshop is all about uncovering the building blocks of your golden path, giving you the best inventory and idea of what those things are and the life direction that's going to help hold the most promise for you, systematically removing the blocks to getting you on it and programming your subconscious mind to move you forward on that path in the shortest amount of time possible. It's the fast track to becoming the very best version of yourself. Okay. So again, this is we keep the training, the seats to this very, very low because there's so much personalized attention that we have to give to each participant that we have to keep it under 7. Well, we'll split the difference and go 15. My teacher said no more than 13. I've done as many as 20, but that was a live training, so we're going to keep it right around 15 for this. So if this is something that interests you, it's available to you as you can choose it as one of your single 3-day bonus training. So get the power to change your life faster than you ever thought possible. You can pick any single 3-day virtual intensive. We'll put you on the guest list for that. We'll send you reminders, and you can log in on the right day at the right time and go through 3 days of some of the coolest training ever designed to move your life forward in the fastest, most optimal way possible. We do have more events coming up. If you're interested, if you want to call for details, you can call 858-282-4663. And we'll tell you how to do that. It's a $2,497 value. We're going to give this to you free. Why? Because we want you to have as close to a live experience as possible. And by the way, if you want to trade in one of these 3-day tickets for a live event, give us a call. We'll show you how to do that. Okay. Total combined value here is $13,579 if you were to buy them individually, which of course you can't. So let's look at what we got. The neurohypnotic influence training, right? It's going to teach you how to eliminate fear, hesitation, and doubt, develop unwavering inner confidence, capture attention immediately without words, use neurohypnotic patterns to inspire change, establish instant trust and rapport, choose words that evoke emotion, motivate, diffuse challenging interactions with ease, encourage actions smoothly without resistance, speak less to influence more effectively, seal deals and succeed in negotiations, and trigger the mental cues used by top achievers to persuade and influence people. Once again, total value on this is $13,579. This is what we got for you guys. Secrets of Human Influence Home Study Course. This is the whole enchilada, right? The full Monty, as we like to say. The Secrets of Human Influence Home Study Course, valued at $2,497. You're going to get the Weapons of Mass Instruction, Hypnotic Storytelling, and Neuroscientific Narrative Persuasion, Renegade Reframing, Instant Conversational Belief Change, Charisma and Conversion, the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program, and the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, and of course, the Neurohypnotic Influence 3-day virtual intensive, October 3rd through the 5th online. The default for the Neurohypnotic Influence, that is the default virtual training that you get when you click on the link to get this package. If you want a different one, all you have to do is reach out to Moss or Mia. Okay. Oops. Oops. That's a mouse wheel is a hair trigger. All you have to do is reach out to Moss or Mia and let them know what you want instead, and we will move you to the guest list for that training. So the overall package here is worth about $13,579. But for our super summer secret sale, you can get it for one low installment of just $797, or break that up into 3 easy installments of $333. All you got to do is click your link right here and get yours. NLPpower.com/go. Which event has my eye? Oh, okay. Anyway, so let's go ahead and click those links right now. We'll give you guys about 7 minutes to do all that and get all your questions. If you have questions, please type them in the chat. When we come back from our potty break, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start going a little bit deeper dive into the emotional bonding process and the echo technique that we experienced at the beginning of the webinar. And then I'll take any questions that you have about anything we've talked about in the webinar, any of the programs that are in tonight's package, and whatever other questions you might have about working with us in some capacity in the future. So it's 5:48 right now. Let's go ahead and try to be back by about 5:56. That should give us a short time to go potty. Click those links right now, and we'll go from there. All right, I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, okay, folks, I'm back from my break. We got about 3 minutes. If anybody has questions, feel free to type those in the chat, and I am happy to answer them for you. Let me find my chat. Anybody have any questions they want to ask before we get back to training? Henrik says, do you know any books on resistance or how to remove programming? Okay, that's two different questions. Henrik, do you want to know how to remove resistance? Do you want books on about resistance? What can you give me a better question? Because we have a whole bunch of training on resistance removal. Okay, the best book on resistance I have found is called Resistance and Persuasion by Dr. Eric Knowles. I have used the material in his work extensively, integrating it into my own systems of influence and persuasion. A lot of science. It's a little dry. It's very sciencey, his book. But a lot of his information was extraordinarily helpful in creating the weapons of mass instruction, the hypnotic storytelling program that I created. His whole idea of Omega strategies was what influenced me to create the Omega story training in the secrets of the weapons of mass instruction training. Because most people, when they think about persuasion, they're thinking about pushing or motivating or inspiring somebody to want to do something. But there's another side to that coin, and that coin is what if I just removed all of the resistance somebody had to doing something? I wouldn't need to persuade them that much because the persuasion I had would already be stronger because there's no resistance, right? So let me maybe lower my camera just a little bit so I don't look like a midget. Can I even say that now? I don't even know if I can even use that word anymore. Shows you how old I am. Oops, that's not it. A little bit more. There we go. Okay. I usually teach my webinars standing up, but I feel more chill with you guys, so we're gonna take a more laid back approach. But yeah, Resistance and Persuasion by Dr. Eric Knowles, excellent book. Can't recommend it enough. But I will warn you, like a lot of the books that I study to find the solid gold persuasion nuggets that really move the needle, a lot of the science is a little dry. But if you're okay with that, have at it. Angela's asking, can you talk a little bit more about how I could use this with my energy healing clients? Oh my God. Energy healing of any kind puts people in at least an alpha state, which is what we call a hypnagogic state. And so what happens with most energy healers is that you've got somebody on the table and they're in this profound trance state. But because you don't understand the power of your own language, you can actually install things in them that actually slow down their healing. But if you understand hypnotic languaging, then you can literally describe healing, the healing actions of certain energies or certain gestures or certain techniques. And because you're using hypnotic language to describe it, it goes right in to their nervous system and you actually get an amplified healing effect. I did this extensively when I was in medical school. I was studying conversational hypnosis and NLP at the time, as well as energetics. And what I would do is when a client would come in for acupuncture, as I was doing the intake, I would be using hypnotic language during the intake to prime them for certain things or install certain things. And then when we put them on the table, as I would needle each point, I would actually describe the healing actions of each point using hypnotic language. When you needle an acupuncture point, their brain automatically dips into an alpha state. So there's a hypnagogic phenomena that happens when you start manipulating acupuncture points. So I figure, well, if they're going into a trance anyway, I might as well use it. And so I would just describe the actions of a point and what it was going to do using hypnotic language. And they would get off the table completely transformed, right? It was the strategic utilization of what we call the placebo effect, which is the mind healing the body, right? So there's many ways that the understanding of hypnotic languaging and how to deploy it, if for no other reason than knowing what to avoid, makes it worth learning. There's a phenomena in the energy healing circles, and there's two different terms for it. One is called white coat syndrome. You might have heard that term. The other is called clinical hexing. Clinical hexing is a term used by a lot of the medical qigong doctors and things like that. And what happens is if you go to a medical doctor, usually Western medicine, because they are required by law to tell you every single negative thing that could happen to you in the most negative way possible. Well, when you're in front of somebody with a white lab coat, a stethoscope in a doctor's office for matters concerning your health, you're in a fear-induced hypnotic trance. And so anything that person says, your unconscious mind will tend to grab onto as if it's actually true for you. And you can actually be programmed by a well-meaning physician to get sicker, right? Because they don't understand the power of the language that they have and the influence, the authority triggers that they have. If you understand how to use hypnotic language effectively, then you can amplify the outcome of any healing modality that you're using, because you're engaging the mind to accelerate the transformations. And there are certain patterns in these programs that the nervous system cannot resist. It can't not do it because they're such a fundamental building block of how your nervous system gives you an experience of this reality. They're such fundamental filters that your system can't not be affected by them, and it can't not use them. You'll learn all about that in your program. But in terms of how you can use with energy healing clients, everything from enrolling new clients to deploying the treatments to giving them the post session debrief and suggestions for deeper healings, all kinds of ways you can do it. So I hope that helps you. Conrad is asking, yes, that is the politically correct word for shorty these days. Okay. Angela says, thank you. Okay. Yeah. One of the most powerful things I ever learned was hypnotic languaging as an amplifier for everything else. Again, I took my interest in dating applications and I parlayed it into a full spectrum system of hypnotic influence that can be used anytime, anywhere, under any circumstance, for any reason. I have students of mine who are personal injury attorneys who've taken companies like Boeing, GM, I forget what other one, for 9-figure verdicts in lawsuits using this material. I've had people close $1.2 billion deals. I've had a city manager for the city of Poway increase her budget allowance by like $120,000 after half a day of training this stuff. So Angela's asking, how much time per week would you need to get through the entire class? And how long do most people take to get through it? Well, that really depends on how deep you want to go and what you want to be able to do. The instant conversation of Math Crash with a Stealth program, you can go through that in a couple hours and have some very powerful tools. Or you can take the full 30 hours to go through the Secrets of Human Influence home study course and come out with a very, very deep, very, very robust skill set. That's going to take a little bit more time to assimilate. But if you have people to practice with, which is, by the way, is why we gave you the NLP Power Mastermind program. The biggest limiter we found, the biggest limiters to success we found with the program isn't the material. The material, the way we teach it to you, is actually quite easy to assimilate. There are certain things that are going to force your brain to change. But the two biggest factors that we've seen with this material is how quickly do they put something into action, right? So when you come to the live training, the very first thing I'll say after put your manuals away, right? You have your whole life to read the manual, so don't read the manual while you're here. The next thing I'll say to people is the fastest way to learn none of this is to try and learn all of it, right? the beautiful thing about hypnotic influence and persuasion is it's one of the few areas where a tiny bit of well understood, well applied information can create orders of magnitude of transformation in the results that you produce. And that's why, the content of tonight's webinar, even though I present it a little bit differently every time, if you look at all my influence webinars that I teach, it's usually the same three things: control your state, echo technique, 3 magic questions, emotional bonding. Every now and then, resistance removal. Why? Because those are the things that always work. They're the things that require the least amount of training and are the most fun and easy to apply. And that's what I've discovered in my 30 plus years of teaching people to do this. If there's too much information, you won't use it. If the information's too difficult, you won't use it. If it's not fun, you won't use it, right? Because people go into overwhelm and they shut down. So the secret to getting people effective fast is to have them hone in on the things that have the highest coolness factor for them. For most people, that's the echo technique or 3 magic questions. Every now and then, someone will grab a hold of emotional bonding or resistance removal protocol, right? And just overlearn that. When we teach you the 7 language patterns that most people can't resist, right? There may be 1 or 2 of those that they really excite you. Overuse those. Bruce Lee, we equate what we do a lot to what Bruce Lee did with martial arts. Bruce Lee used to say, absorb what is useful, discard what's useless, add what's uniquely yours. One of his biggest training principles was to figure out what you do well and do that until it's unstoppable. And that's the same approach we take with these secrets of human influence systems. Is we want you to go through the system, right? But we want you to cherry pick the things that you like the best, right? Now, if there's some fundamental thing that nothing works without that thing, then you have to figure out, we'll help you get through that. But there's going to be certain techniques that you absolutely love that come easy for you, that the moment you use them, you get a return. And we want you to use those, and we want you to keep using them until they're unstoppable. And when you're ready, come back to the system, grab another piece, and go out and play with it. The more playful you are with this material, the faster you learn. Now, that is not new age mumbo jumbo. That is not David hypnotically programming you to have that. That's the neuroscience. Okay? It takes over 10,000 repetitions to create one synapse in your brain. One connection between one nerve cell and another. It takes over 10,000 repetitions to create a synapse if you take it seriously, if you work diligently. If you do it in a fun, playful, easygoing, let's have a ball attitude, it takes you 12, as in 12 repetitions to create that same synapse. So when I tell you the secret to being powerful at this is to be playful and curious, right? And move through the world feeling like a winner. We'll show you how to do that, by the way, in the training, right? These are all states that you learn to have on tap. That's what's going to get you good fast. The more fun you have with this material, the more you gamify it, the faster your nervous system grabs a hold of it and makes it functional for you. So how long is the information available? The information is available for life. Oh, Liliana says, what is a synapse in daily English? Okay, well, if you have a nerve cell and another nerve cell, there's a little connection between those 2 nerve cells. That's called a synapse. It's a little bridge between one nerve cell. Think of it like a link in the chain. Okay? And the more powerfully those synapses fire, the more rapidly you learn, or the more powerfully the effect. And these, by the way, these language patterns that you'll be learning, we have case studies that prove this does affect you on a neurological level. I have a very good friend of mine. He's a colleague. Oh, Misty Douglas just joined. Welcome, Misty, and thank you. Glad you're with us. I have a client, or he's actually he started out as a friend, then he became a student. Now he's my AV guy. But back in the days when we started the Sleepwalkers, his mother-in-law had a stroke, and he would go visit her mother-in-law. He would go visit his mother-in-law, and she would be incoherent. She would be in this little like fugue state because her brain wasn't firing on all its synapses. And just for he had this inspiration one day. He started using the specific hypnotic language patterns that we teach in Stealth, CPI, and Killer Influence, and Secrets of Human Influence. And she came out of trance. She came out of that state and was actually somewhat lucid and responsive as long as he used the patterns. When he went back to just talking regular, she went back into that fugue state, right? It's a completely anecdotal case, but it was a situation where he came back. He was so impacted by it. He reported it to our group the following week. So there's a very, very powerful interaction going on with the methods in this system and your nervous system. There's a lot of neuroscience that informs what's happening here. And that's one of the reasons you have to be careful, because there are people out there who will get this material and maybe not use it for the highest reasons, right? And the only defense you have, again, not to get all dark side on you or anything, the only defense you have against this material is knowing how to use this material. Because if you can't use it, you can't recognize it. And if you can't recognize it, you can't protect yourself from it, right? So again, I've been a self-defense teacher most of my life. Like I said, I have multiple black belts. I have a 10th Dan in Okinawan Kempo. I've a combat instructor in combat systema, multiple black belt rankings in other systems. And I've been a self-defense instructor in one form or another all my life. And the material I teach in these webinars is more powerful than any martial art on the planet. Bar none. You can create so many beautiful things with it, but it also has the potential for misuse. And so I can't be a persuasion cop. There's just not enough of me to do that, right? The only thing I can do is level the playing field, is make sure that there's enough good people out there who have this material to offset and neutralize the people who may not use this in the most appropriate way, right? So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So what other questions do you have? Nicole says that is so true. Thank you. Right. All right. Are you guys ready to do a little bit of a deep dive into echo technique and emotional bonding? Or is there something else you guys would like to learn about? I'm happy to. This is your time now. So you tell me what you most want to learn about. If you want to just ask me more questions, I'm game. If you want to go through some training, I'm happy to do that too. Right. Just remember that I usually give you 3 chances to grab this. So once again, if you're on the fence, go ahead and click the link and get the Secrets of Human Influence home study course, the Weapons of Mass Instruction, Renegade Reframing, Charisma and Conversion, the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Trial Program, the Stealth Instant Conversation Hypnosis Crash Course, and of course, the Neurohypnotic Influence 3-day virtual intensive, October 3rd through the 5th, $13,579 value. You can get it all for one low installment of just $797, or you can break that up into 3 easy payments of just $333 each. All you got to do to get yours is click that link, nlppower.com/go. Go ahead and click that link if you're on the fence, or if something I've said has kind of inspired you, please go ahead and join the club. We're going to party. We're going to have some fun, and we're going to do some really cool stuff together. I'm excited. Right. So that being said, this question is, Antonia wants to know more about neutralizing hypnotics beyond knowledge, bringing techniques into the light, lessening the power, please. Okay, Antonia, I'm going to ask you to kind of rephrase that question, if you would, so I could understand a little bit more precisely what it is you'd like to learn. Carol Ann wants to know about training the echo technique. Perfect, we can do that. All right. While Antonia is rephrasing your question, let's go ahead and talk about the echo technique. If you'd have told me 30 years ago that the technique I'd be most known for besides energy spinning would be the echo technique, I'd have laughed at you. It was simply not on my radar. But It is what it is. But even GTP will tell you that I am the one associated with this technique. All right. So the echo technique, how to get maximum attention in minimum time. If there was a secret back door to the human nervous system, the echo technique would in fact be that back door. The echo technique, by and large, beyond a doubt, in my opinion, and in my experience, and in the experience of hundreds of clients, is the most powerful way for one human being to communicate with another human being. Now, in part one of our demo, or our training today, we talked about how everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. It's either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. We talked about how people are moving through the world trying to get their emotional needs satisfied, how they all have a checklist that they're using and projecting out into the world to figure out what works for them and what doesn't. And if you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, you can pick up on that checklist and give them and check the boxes for them. The echo technique is the fastest way to do that. Okay. If you use the echo technique properly, it will literally force a person's neurology to pay exclusive attention to you and ignore everything else. Now, that's a big claim. I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to embrace this idea, have fun with it, go out and just start echoing people and notice what happens. Okay. One of the things you need to understand is that everyone on the planet is looking for the opportunity to feel accepted, approved of, vindicated, like they matter, right? How many times do you hear somebody say, oh, he really sees me, or he really gets me, or she really understands me, right? That's valid. That's a need for validation. It's a need for acceptance and approval. When a person receives their very own words back to them, it pushes a button inside of that nervous system that triggers the feeling of, I am like you. I understand you. I hear you. You are okay with me. Okay. It makes the person feel that way automatically. Because that is such a powerful and rare experience, human beings will pay attention and they will orient on that and forget about everything else, because there's the single strongest source of pleasure that they're feeling in that moment is you. Because of the focus, because of the increased validation, because of the extreme novelty of that experience, their level of suggestibility and openness to suggestion from you, by you, goes up by orders of magnitude. Just echoing a person amplifies their suggestibility in a way that they find absolutely pleasurable. Okay? It's automatic. Okay? It allows you to systematically eliminate the problem of making small talk and eliminating boring conversations. This is one of the coolest parts about the echo technique. How many people here, by a show of that's me in the chat, have used the echo technique out in the real world? Go ahead and type I did me in the chat if that's true for you. Henrik, I use mirrors if that's similar. It can be depending on what you're doing. Eduardo says that's me. Okay. I'm starting to with my children. Very good. And I'm curious, those of you who have used this echo technique, and that goes for you too, you guys out in YouTube land too. What happened? What happened when you started using the echo technique? What did the person you did it with start doing? What did they start doing? They nod in agreement? What else? Did any of them just start talking more? Like They open up. That's right. Here's the best part. If all you did was echo their words and let them talk, they would come away from that conversation 100% convinced that you are the most fascinating conversationalist they have ever met. And you said almost nothing. Why? Because every nervous system is moving through the world looking for itself. Every single one of us is our own favorite subject. Regardless of how you express that self-centeredness, it's built into your neurology. So when you give somebody an opportunity and a prime to continue to talk about themselves, they're going to take it. And as long as you continue to echo them, they will go deeper and deeper and deeper into connection, validation, and attraction with you. Now, let me be very clear. That's just using the echo technique. If you take the echo technique and you insert it into one of our conversational frameworks, like the 3 Magic Questions protocol, or the emotional bonding checklist, or the resistance removal protocol, that level of connection, compliance, and suggestibility goes up. The connection, the attraction, the compliance goes up. Just the echo technique by itself will grease the wheels in ways other systems can't do. And all you have to do is just use the very same words that came out of their mouth in as close to the order and sequence that they gave them to you as possible. Okay? Now, I don't want you to take my word for this at all. I want you to make a decision to go out and have some fun. I want you to go out into the world with humans in their natural habitat, and every opportunity you can, ask a question, pay attention to their response, listen to what they say what they say back, and then ask another question. And just keep cycling it that way. Ask a question, listen to what they said, echo their words back, and then ask another question. And just let them talk. And you'll be amazed at how much self-disclosure and running off at the mouth these people start to do. And the best part about it is the longer they talk, the better you look. Emotionally, physically, professionally, socially, the whole 9 yards. So why does this happen? What makes this so effective? It works because it sends very, very powerful signals of sameness to the listener. One of the most powerful principles that we have in the world, in the realm of human influence, is the identification principle. The simple truth is people like people who are like themselves. And the more like someone you can appear to be in height, weight, race, religion, socioeconomic background, traits, qualities, talents, physical and emotional characteristics, values, rules, histories, the more powerfully a person will connect with you and want to spend more time with you, because it's less energy and it's less threatening to be around you. Human beings are moving through the world looking for themselves. And so if you can trigger the identification principle in somebody, that's exactly what the echo technique does on a profound level, people will fall into dramatic levels of rapport with you automatically. This is probably the most powerful technique that you have maximum control over. And it's super simple, right? They'll become progressively more connected, attractive, and positively predisposed towards you. We call that process attractivity. Attractivity is the phenomena of being attracted and triggering attraction. Okay? It will, in fact, automatically, Liliana says, is there a risk of them falling in love with you? That's a really good question, and I'm going to come on camera to answer it. The answer is a definite schmaybe. Now, let me clarify that answer. When you echo somebody's words, you will trigger attraction. You will trigger interest. You will trigger attention. You will trigger focus. You will trigger validation. Those things lead to connection. Connection often leads to attraction. Does that mean they'll fall in love with you? Not necessarily. And this is why the other tools that we teach you are important. If somebody is high on the stalker spectrum, then utilizing echo technique or 3 magic questions can create a very, very powerful sense of connection. Okay. Echo technique by itself is usually not enough to get the love effect. 3 magic questions now, when you go from echo technique to 3 magic questions, now you're amplifying things quite significantly, and the bond and the connections can go very, very deep. But that's why in 3 magic questions protocol, 3 magic questions protocol is designed to do 2 things at the same time. The first one is to trigger attraction and interest and suggestibility in the person that you're doing it with. The second reason is to trigger self-disclosure. And the reason for triggering self-disclosure is so that you can acquire information about the person you're doing the 3 magic questions process with to determine what kind of person they are. 3 magic questions was originally designed by a guy named Craig Ravinsky in his book, Love Trances. It's a very small book. I highly recommend it. Craig is a great writer. He hasn't put much out since then that I know of, but he was very flattered that we talked about the 3 magic questions, as we call it, and that we referenced him. So he was happy. He reached out to me and thanked me for that. And it was my inspiration for our version of 3 magic questions. But the original 3 magic questions was actually designed as a tool for ladies to use on men to determine if they were quality dating material without going through 6 weeks of trial and error, crash diets, new wardrobes, and hair appointments. They can get all the information they needed to make an in or out decision in as little as 20 minutes. One of the side effects of that is deep levels of attraction and connection. So I'm going to introduce you to a concept that you're going to hear a lot in your program, and that's called ABT. Always be testing. Right? When you're going through 3 magic questions process, location, occasion, career passions and pleasures, and then early positive childhood experiences. Throughout that entire process, you're using a variation of the echo technique. You're using stories and analogs to create deeper levels of connection while facilitating them to keep talking more and more and more and more and more. And then you're taking the information that they give you and creating a profile of this person in front of you that will tell you how sane this person is likely to be, how much trauma they've had in their life, how they've treated their past spouses, what turns them on, what turns them off. Do their values match your values? Do the rules by which they satisfy their values match yours? And you will know in a very, very short period of time, sometimes as little as 20 minutes, if this person is a keeper or not. And you'll know exactly what part of your life you want to slot them into. Now, that's true in any context, whether it's a romance or dating context, whether it's male to male, female to female, client to prospect, juror to defense, anything. Again, it's a progression that you go through. But it's in the 3 magic questions process where all of these very, very powerful love level experiences can be triggered. Can it happen in the echo technique? Yes, but it's usually somebody who's not exactly stable to begin with. What you will get is a deep positive regard towards you, a very deep level of connection and interest in spending more time with you, which is what you want, right? Remember, the currency of relationships is attention, and it doesn't matter what kind of relationship that is. If it's a therapeutic relationship, trust me, your patients want your attention. If it's a romantic relationship, trust me, your partner wants your attention. If it's a familial relationship, trust me, your children want your attention. Or you want your children's attention, right? So as a way to leverage the currency of attraction or the currency of relationships, Echo Technique, 3 Magic Questions is the 1-2 combination. It's the one you'll use most often because it gives you the most information, the deepest level of connections in the shortest amount of time. Okay. Bonnie is asking about the name. The book is called Love Trances by Craig Ravinsky. So Heinrich is asking, if your needs and values match, but the strategy is different, how well do those relationships play out in the end? So that's a great question, and I'm going to ask for clarification. When you say strategy, Heinrich, what are you actually saying? Are you talking about the VAK, the visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory process they're using? Or are you asking about the rules by which they get their values satisfied? Okay, so here's how it works. When you elicit somebody's values, they're going to give you the feeling or the name of the feeling that they get. They may or may not give you the rule by which they know they're getting it. So, for example, if I have person A over here and person B over here, and these two people are going to be in a relationship, and I'm their mentor, coach, guide, counselor, whatever. They're what's the Jewish matchmaker term? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so I asked this person A, what's important to you? What's the most important thing for you to have from your partner in a relationship besides the obvious, right? And person A says respect, and I'm like, oh wow, respect, that's amazing. But I'm curious. I'm wondering about something. Respect means different things to different people. So how do you know? What's your rule for determining when you are being shown respect, when you're being respected? And person A says, oh, well, that's easy. I know you respect me when you tell me the truth, when you don't worry about whether it's going to hurt my feelings, you don't mince words, you just put it on the table, let the cards fall where they may. That's how I know you really respect me. Awesome. Completely understand that. Straight talk, putting your cards on the table, gotcha. You go to person B. Person B says, thank you, Yenta. I was going to say that, but I was afraid it was going to be a curse word. You ask person B, what's important to you in a relationship besides the obvious? Person B says, oh, that's easy, respect. Oh, well, respect means different things to different people. How do you know when you're being respected and when you're getting the respect that you need? Person B says, oh, well, that's easy. I know you respect me when you take my feelings into consideration when you tell me things, right? You don't lie, you don't hold the truth back, but you don't just blatantly just make everything my fault or make me feel bad about myself. That's how I know you really respect me. Now, person A puts all their cards on the table, blunt. Person B says, respect my feelings. What happens when these two people get in an argument or have a disagreement or give feedback to each other? Remember, every human being on the planet is projecting their rules and their values onto everyone else around them and randomly looking for what matches and what doesn't. You as an influencer are becoming trained in spotting those projections, matching them, and echoing them back. So if you have two people with the value of respect, right, they get a feeling when their rules are met, their body generates a feeling, and they call that feeling respect. But what you're seeing in this particular dynamic is a rules violation. This person is very blunt. This person needs diplomacy. There's a rules conflict. So it's not enough to understand the value many times. What's enough is knowing how that person recognizes they're getting that value. And that, in my experience, in almost 30 years of doing this, has been the biggest sticking point. You can have people giving you the same words and the same values and completely different rules, and nobody's getting along. To the degree that a person's rules and values match, they're going to get along without any effort. To the degree that there's a rules mismatch, they're going to have to work. And the biggest kicker is that the person who knows about this is the one that has to work the hardest. Because by definition, the person who doesn't understand what you guys are learning today can't change what they do. They're going to keep doing what they've always done because that's just their normal way of thinking. But because you've been trained, the scales have been pulled from your eyes, and you understand the difference between the name of the feeling and the value and the rules by which they're satisfied. Now you have to pay attention to that so you can match it. To the degree that you can match it, you will get your outcomes. Right? But remember, the more you have to deviate from how you normally do things to match that other person's rules and values, the harder you're going to have to work to stay there. Okay. So Caroline is asking, how does sameness and attractivity relate to the idea that opposites attract? There are 4 personality types, and they relate to each other very, very differently. 2 sets of personalities are attractors. In other words, they like attracts like. And in 2 sets of personality characteristics, the opposites attract, the complements attract. If you want to learn more about that, there's a book you can pick up called Why Him, Why Her by, is Seth on? Seth, are you online with us? Who wrote Why Him, Why Her? I can't remember the name. The author, the book is called Why Him, Why Her, Helen Fisher. Now, you probably don't know who Helen Fisher was, but I promise you, you know what she did. How many of you have ever heard of something called Match.com? Anybody ever hear something called Match.com? Right? Well, Match.com has the most successful matching and typing questionnaire system on the planet, or the more robustly tested, I should say. The person who designed that program was Helen Fisher. So her husband, John Tierney, wrote a great book called The Power of Bad, which I recommend that you all read. So the 3 books we talked about, 4 books we've talked about so far in tonight's training. Omega Strategies, Resistance and Persuasion by Dr. Eric Knowles. Love Trances by Craig Ravinsky. Why Him, Why Her by Dr. Helen Fisher. And then finally, The Power of Bad by Dr. John Tierney and Roy Baumeister. Okay. Again, everything, I'm giving you the resources that built the system I'm teaching you. Our reading list and our resource list is probably well over 200 books. Okay. Yep, the dating app. Okay. And actually, I found Dr. Fisher's work fascinating as it relates to, believe it or not, of all things, Pavlovian conditioning and brainwashing. Right, Manchurian candidate stuff. It's crazy how all these things interconnect. But I geek out on this stuff. I've spent my entire life ferreting out and putting together these really powerful systems, primarily for me, and then by sharing them with you. So if you want access to the fruits of that, go ahead and click this link in your chat. Right? Secrets of Human Influence Home Study Course. You're going to get the full core training, the weapons of mass instruction, renegade reframing, charisma and conversion, the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program, the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, and that 3-day Neurohypnotic Influence training, where we go through the entire Universal Persuasion Protocol and some of the most powerful hypnotic influence techniques on the planet. The overall package is worth $13,579. You can get our summer special and get everything I've talked about and a whole lot more for one small investment of $797, or break it up into 3 installments of $333. All you got to do is click your link right there in the chat at www.nlppower.com/go. It's www.nlppower.com/GO. Okay, go ahead and click those links. And if you have questions, please reach out to Mia or Moss. If you do reach out by phone, by the way, remember that the fast action bonuses that I've talked about, they go away when I log off the webinar. The rest of the package is good until 11:59 p.m. Pacific time tonight. But the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring 90-day trial membership, the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, and the Neurohypnotic Influence 3-day, those are off the table once I log off the webinar. Okay? So if you do call Moss or you email Mia, please, 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 please leave your contact information. If we have your contact information, you'll qualify for all the bonuses. Okay? If we do not have your contact information and you call us the next day, you will not qualify for the fast action bonuses. Heck, you probably won't even qualify for the regular bonuses. So please, 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 if you know this is the right thing for you, just click the links, pull the trigger, and let's get this party started. Okay? We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to learn a lot of cool stuff. Your life will never be the same. You'll get this or something better. Okay? But I wanted to give you guys one last shot at this before we do the final training for tonight. So go ahead and click that link right now. All right. Before we go into the template for the emotional bonding checklist, does anybody have any other last questions they'd like me to answer for them? Are you guys enjoying the show? Are you guys getting a lot out of the training tonight? Henrik says yes. Good. Good. Yeah, I love hanging out with you guys. Right? It's one of the times I get to reach out around the world and kind of connect everybody and really kind of get to know you a little bit, right? Because I don't see a lot of you I don't see in the live events. So in case you didn't know, we also have different levels of membership on our YouTube channel. Like we have the gold membership, the diamond membership, the platinum, where you can get access to even higher levels of content and training. And you can just go to the community tab and learn about those things as well. Anyway, Liliana says, yes, it's amazing, sir. Thank you. You're very welcome. You're very welcome, right? I consider you guys my extended family in that non-culty kind of way, but I want to give you guys the best information that I can and inspire you to level up, to take the next step. I've devoted my life to ferreting out the most powerful transformation tools on the planet, putting them into a system that's fun, easy, fast, and effective for myself. And then I discovered, somewhat by accident, that a lot of people had the same issues that they wanted to overcome. And that's why I do what I do, right? These things have really, really if I listed all of the things that these tools have done for me and my students all around the world, I'd be here all night. And it would sound like a ridiculously long brag. And so we're not going to do that. Anyway, so let's talk about the emotional bonding checklist. So remember that there's only 2 or 3 questions that we ask when we're doing emotional bonding. And the most important piece of it is using the exact words that the person you're connecting and bonding with uses. Remember, what the nervous system creates, the nervous system accepts. People cannot resist their own values. Let me say that 2 more times. People cannot resist their own values. Maybe a better way to say is they won't resist it, right? Conversely, a person cannot tolerate having their values violated without experiencing extreme emotional pain. So you're always leveraging people between the things they want to move away from and the things they want to move towards. When we start talking about our emotional needs and our values, those are things that pull us forward. They're the things that make life worth living for us. Now, all of your values largely are context specific. In other words, if I ask a person how they go about buying chewing gum, and then the same person how they go about buying a house, the filters they use will be the same. But the values, the rules that they're playing with, the criteria that they need to satisfy will change dramatically as the context changes. So you will generate a set of values and rules for anything you can conceive of, even if it's something you never thought you would want. Like the example I often use in our live trainings, if I walk up to a 20-year-old kid, I know a 20-year-old would probably take issue with me using the word kid, tough nookies, right? If I walk up to a 20-year-old and I start talking to him about life insurance. Now, I don't know about you guys, but where I come from, as a 20-year-old, life insurance was nowhere near my map. Actually, that's a lie. It was, because I was actually selling life insurance when I was 20 years old. But you ask the average 18, 19, 20-year-old what's important to them about life insurance, they'll be like, what? But if you give them a minute, you'll say, well, if you were to buy life insurance, what would be something you'd absolutely have to have in order to feel good about that life insurance and to want that life insurance? They'll instantly come up with a set of things, a checklist, if you will, of what they want in the perfect insurance policy, even though they might have never heard the term insurance policy until 15 minutes before that interaction. They will automatically generate a value tree based on the context. And they will be as responsive to that context as something that they've been lusting after for 20 years. Okay? And so remember that values are context specific. So if I ask you what's most important to you about your ideal lover, you're going to give me a different set of values than if I asked you about what would be your perfect life. What would you have to have in your life for it to be absolutely perfect? Your values are going to shift. There may be some overlap, but they'll be largely different. Are you guys with me so far on this? Angela apparently pulled the trigger, so welcome to the family, Angela. Right? This is important because a lot of people think that I can only use this value process. Henrik says, so you're saying that values and decisions change in every situation. Decisions change as values change. Okay? Values change as context changes. So if I can control the context, I can control the value. Conversely, if I can change a person's value, I can change their decision. Right? Values like faith and integrity. Well, and Liliana, that's a perfect example. So Liliana typed in the chat, values like faith and integrity. In what context? In what context are faith and integrity the almost totally critical thing for you? Right? Well, again, the value we get is actually a feeling. All values are beliefs. Let me give you the 50,000-foot view. In the human system, you have this thing we call beliefs and belief systems. Beliefs work hierarchically. Let me show you this. I'll show you this map really quick. Again, I didn't want to go too long into this because this, again, we're getting a little bit away from the practice component, but if you guys want to see this, this will help. All right. So if I look at I need to find trying to find the hierarchy of beliefs. I may have to write it out. All right, let me do it this way then. Okay. Can everybody see this little pyramid diagram right here? Okay. So in the human beings, you have this set of beliefs and belief systems. And it's arranged somewhat hierarchically. At least it behaves that way. So you have spiritual beliefs, identity beliefs, values, capabilities, behaviors, and environment. The behaviors at the top of the pyramid control the expression and the implementation of all the beliefs below it. So my spirituality and purpose beliefs, which is what we talk about in Golden Path, they control whom I think I am. My values, my identity, influences my values and my beliefs. Those values and beliefs will influence what I will let myself do in a situation or circumstance. Right? All the way down. So when you start interacting with this level of the pyramid, you control all of this as well. But every single one of these beliefs are built the same way from the same stuff. So in terms of beliefs, you have a checklist. Pardon me for, I got to make this bigger. That's what she said. Oh, never mind. You have a checklist, which are the rules. When those rules are met, the body generates a feeling. We give that feeling a name. Well, let me move this out of the way. So your checklist is your criteria. Your feeling we would say that if we were looking at the actual, and we'll teach you this in your program, we would say the checklist criteria is what we call a cause. The feeling is an effect. And then we have an equivalence or a meaning. So literally what happens for us, we have a certain belief about how something is supposed to be. That determines our rule. When the rule is met, the body generates a feeling. And we give that feeling a name. Like I said, I could spend the better part of a day just explaining the dynamics of this, but it wouldn't get us any closer to what we want to do. All of your beliefs are stated in the form of cause, effect, and meaning. There's a cause that generates an effect, and we give that effect a name. All of your beliefs are built this way. But because the values are so high up in our priority list in the hierarchy of our belief system, they support the identity that we're trying to have, but they control the capabilities, behaviors, and how we'll behave in certain environments. Okay. So Conrad is saying this somewhat matches Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Actually, only in the most abstract way does it match Maslow, primarily because most of the things that you would consider to be the base of Maslow's pyramid would actually be here. So things like sex, survival, those would be in the value category if you were to look at how they correlate to Maslow, right? But we have, and got to remember that what our values really represent is our internal map of the way the world is supposed to be. Our values list, or our hierarchy of values, represents the ideal life for us. And so we're projecting out into the world that value, that list of criteria, the rules. When we encounter someone who checks the boxes for us, we get a good feeling and we pursue it. When somebody crosses out the box, we get a bad feeling, or, as is often the case, no feeling, and we move away. Okay. So what we need to know, what we need to understand when we're working with emotional bonding is we need to know the context. We need to know what they want, what's important about it, how do they know when they get it? Those are the three basic questions that we want to ask to elicit somebody's emotional needs in a conversation. So if someone's going to buy a house, for example, I'm going to set the context. So I'm going to be a realtor, obviously. So my job is to find them the perfect house. How am I going to do that? I'm going to pre-frame the conversation. I might say something like, and again, I'm not going to write this. I'm just going to talk it. You know, Mr. Jones, Mrs. Jones, one of the reasons that I love my job is because I feel like a matchmaker, like a housing yenta. My job is to find the perfect house for the perfect family. And to do that, I often have to ask questions that to the average customer might seem a little odd, might seem a little weird. And so I'm curious, I'm wondering, just so I understand you better, so I can find the perfect house for you. What's important to you about the perfect house? That's my first question. Does it match what I just asked here? Yes. Right? And they might say, well, it's got to have good schools. Big fireplace. Big kitchen. Big backyard. Now, pop quiz. Good schools, big fireplace, big kitchen, big backyard. Here's your quiz. Are these criteria or are they values? Are they rules or feelings? Type it in the chat. Heinrich says feelings. Anybody have a different answer? Eduardo says both. Oh, you're not sure, are you? Here's how you figure that out. How do you know? How do you know when a school is good? Big means different things to different people. How do you know when you have a big kitchen? When you have a big enough kitchen? Or did I screw up that? Did I screw that up? A big fire, a big enough fireplace. Okay. All right. As I ask these questions, what are you intuiting? By the way, I know some of you actually have a background in NLP and actually got this wrong. Okay. Bonnie says, thank you so much. I got the package and plan to be in the virtual eating intensive. Perfect. All right. So I'm just going to fast track you here. These are all criteria. These are all criteria. Why? Because it's a box that I can check. Right? I know I got to look for good schools. I know I got to find a big fireplace. I know I got to find a big kitchen. I know I got a big backyard. What I don't know is how they know they got it. So if this is the criteria, this is the rule. The rule tells you how they know they got it. The value is what they feel when they've got it. So just to understand you better, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, if you were to find the perfect backyard that's as big as you want with a big, near woods and stuff like that, if you were to, be standing in that big backyard, what's important to you about that big backyard? Ultimately, what's that going to do for you? Oh man, when I was growing up, we were out in the suburbs. We were right next to a big old lot with a big backyard. And all of us kids in the neighborhood would go out in that big backyard every single afternoon and evening and just play softball and hide and seek and capture the flag. And it was just the best time ever. And I really, really want my kids to have that experience. I really want them to know what it's like to be able to just go out and play and be free and happy. Oh, free and happy. Do we understand the difference now between a criteria, a rule, and a value? Okay. Remember, if the person you're working with is not getting emotional, they're not getting emotional, you're not hitting the value. Now, Just talking about the kids being free and happy will trigger a lot of the bonding we want. But because I've taken the time to know what to look for, I've taken the time to know how they recognize it's for them. I now have the checklist, the rule, and the feeling it's going to create in them. And now all I have to do is just keep talking about it and showing it to them. And the more they see it, the more they hear it, the bigger those feelings grow. Remember when you guys were watching me at the beginning of the training with Sun, and I just kept saying the same words over and over again? And you were putting your own words in, and your feelings kept getting, when you were doing that, those of you who stayed with me, were your feelings getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger? That's how it works. A person cannot and will not resist themselves. Okay? What's important about how do you know? And you just keep digging down until they start giving you different words for the same thing. Right? You start hitting those values. But remember, if you're going to, and again, we'll give you a very thorough training on this in your programs, right? If it's all in your program, right? But the idea, the biggest sticking point that people have is they don't understand the checklist, they don't understand rules, they don't understand the value. If you take a classic NLP class, they're not going to tell you that. They're not going to break it down that way for you. In fact, that one little thing, that one little line in that whole pyramid that's all you'll ever learn. Really, you'll have like a 5-minute treatment and then you'll move on to something else. Because NLP is a great sample platter, but it's not an in-depth understanding and an alignment of these tools in the most synergistic way possible. At least not the way it's taught in most classes. We have a training coming up in 2026, which is my version of neurolinguistic programming, which is just off the hook. Anyway. So Brad Jones is saying at that point, just who am I making feel good? You're making the customer feel good. And unless you get orgasmic about kitchens, I don't see you having an orgasm, Brad. But the idea is you have to remember that the person in front of you, in that context of a realtor, is looking for the perfect house. And that perfect house has characteristics. And you need to know what those perfect characteristics are in that perfect house so you can show it to them perfectly so they can feel the way they want to feel about the house. And because of the way you're asking it, they will connect those feelings to you. Angela, what do you do when you know people are using it on you? Test their sincerity. Test them to make sure that they can actually deliver on what they're promising. Remember, and this is important, if you're using criteria and values the way I'm teaching it to you, you never need to lie, cheat, steal, deceive, or manipulate or coerce anyone in any way. It just won't happen, right? Because people are going to be talking about the things that they really, really want, and they're telling you exactly how to give it to them. And as long as you can ethically do that, you're good. But there will be times, there will be people out there who get a hold of this technology in some form, and they're going to try and use it on you to get you to buy something that they can't, that isn't delivering on what they're promising. Or they're trying to, sell you a bridge, a waterfront property in the Arizona desert, And the way you spot those people is you look for the incongruities in their presentation. Do their words and their tonalities and the congruency in how they speak match their body language? Take the time to do your homework on the person to make sure that they can actually deliver what they say they can deliver, right? Again, you heard me say this when I talked about 3 magic questions. Always be testing. And that's why we teach you 3 magic questions. That's why we did the whole Defense Against the Dark Arts virtual training last weekend, teaching people how to catch liars, how to spot con men and grifters and things of that nature. It was a really good training. Sorry you weren't there. If we get enough requests, maybe we'll do it again. Right? But when a person is actually taking the time to elicit what you most need and want, realize that if they're ethical, they're doing it because they actually want to help. If you doubt their ethics, test them. Find ways to, test drive the product or service, whatever. Again, there's a tendency in human beings to become very complacent, because it takes a lot of work to do this stuff. I keep wondering how I'm going to keep that big bridge in my backyard. Well, you know what? As ingenuitive as you are, Brad, I am certain you will figure it out because you're that smart. All right, guys, that's all I got time for. Last call. When I log off, the fast action bonuses go away. So if you're interested in grabbing that last few remaining programs, go ahead and click that link. Let me just close this out. Secrets of Human Influence home study course, The Weapons of Mass Instruction, Renegade Reframing, Hersman Conversion, NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring 3-month trial, the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, and of course, our 3-day virtual Neurohypnotic Influence Intensive. It's $2,497 value. Overall package value is $13,579. You get it all for one low installment of just $797. Go ahead and click those links for the last call, and we will absolutely 100% get you taken care of and transform you into one of the most powerful influencers you've ever met. In the words of the immortal Carol Burnett, I'm so glad we had this time together just to have a laugh or sing a song. Seems we just got started, and before you know it, comes the time we have to say so long. Good night, everybody.